Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to Bet Online today to get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. Bet.
Like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. Thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shade for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. You're
listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right, shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. Let's get it started off with a little Mickey.
Yeah. Look, here's what I think. I think sometimes, the easy thing to do, the lazy thing to do is look at the results of a season and say, it's a coach's fault or it's the quarterback's fault.
That's right.
I think oftentimes you have to look beyond that.
Look behind them.
Well, I was prepared for this question, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Chuck Noll, his first 3 years, Hall of Fame coach. He was 1-13, 5-9, 6-8.
That's right.
But they recognize that this guy's a good football coach, right?
Oh.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, Bill Belichick.
First 3 seasons, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9.
79.
Tom Landry.
I'm Landry.
0-11.
11.
4-9.
4-9.
5-8.
5-8.
4-10. 5-8.
5-8.
Hall of Fame coaches.
Hall of Fame. Don't you forget it.
14. Second year, 6-10. So I think the easy thing to do is just look at the results and say, oh, no, we've got to have a change.
Wow.
Look beyond that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got to look behind that. Oh, no. All right. Big ups, fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. That never gets old, does it? That shit never gets old. Oh, y'all know what the hell you're talking about there, guy. Oh, hold on. Big ups to the fam, man. Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Much love to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. I know it's early, man. It's Wednesday. I had a little extra early time, man. So I took it and I said, let me talk to the Who Dat Nation. Plus, we got some Pels going on later on tonight. They play for 6:30, so that's why this is an early stream. The Pels play for 6:30. That's the live game scoreboard for PPR's channel. Pelican post game report for those who are Pels, as well as Saints diehards. For y'all that don't know that. And then after that, right after that, 8:30 goes right into PPR final recap of Pels and Thunder. All right, so big ups to you guys. Shout out to you. Appreciate you being in the live on Wednesday, man. I hope y'all having a fantastic hump day, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a pretty damn good week, I got to say, for myself. And I just hope you guys are having it just as promising as I am. Now, we're going to kind of talk about what's going on with the team. You know, we're going to also cover a little Saints Capnomics. We're going to also, when the press conference for the Rizzi media goes live, I think it's in a little bit over an hour, we'll cover that as well. Then we'll end the stream. After that, we'll get some breakdown. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate you for being in the live. Shout out to Michael, man. Thank you for that. Says the Browns are tougher than people think. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're fuck too kind.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man, for that. Much love to the fam. All right. So we're going to start this broadcast off. Mickey Loomis had an interview today, and for the third consecutive week, there was no interview with Bobby Hebert. Very interesting, right? Bobby Hebert asks tough questions, and Mickey uses his softball throwing ass reporter Mike Hoss, who's basically he's a paid reporter for the Saints. So you're not going to really get any tough questions out of that guy. He's a Saints reporter, for goodness sakes. Don't look for hardcore dialogue from those guys, right? That's kind of like controlling your adversaries. You know what I mean? That's what Tom Benson did, man. When the Times-Picayune was hammering them like they had news for agencies, so Tom Benson bought him. He sold them well before he passed. But at the end of the day, it's one of the situations where if you don't like the press that you get in hell, just buy the paper, buy the channel. That's what they do. And then they don't live by the golden rule that you live by, which is do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. They live by the golden rule that he who has the goal makes the rules. Oh man, that ties into that boss man is the boss man versus the lost man thing. The golden rule that they live by is he who has the goal makes the rules. That so was not told to me when I was a younger person. Oh man, did y'all hear that shit? Did y'all parents tell y'all that when y'all were younger? Tell y'all, hey man, you know, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And then as you get older, you realize he who makes the goal makes the rules. That's so unfair, but true. Anyway, man, shout out to you guys. Appreciate you for being in live, man. There is a poll question that's going on right now in the chat for the family members to chime in on. And the question is, who do you think wins Sunday? We got the Browns and Saints. 80% of the family members who currently have voted says, hey, man, the Saints got this. All right, Q. Don't worry, Q. We know better. That's what the 80% is telling me in the chat. They saying in the poll, say, Q, listen, don't worry about it. Saints got this one against the Browns. They got this. We're not going to do a full Brown-Saint breakdown as Friday, but we will kind of delve into some of the stats circulating between the Saints and the Browns to kind of get a look. And yes, you're absolutely right, fam, about this. What Michael dropping his super chat is he's absolutely right. Browns are a lot tougher now. They've been struggling with injuries and all that kind of stuff, but they have playmakers. They got Chubb there, that running back, still a very good running back, had some issues. He's good. Jerome Ford, the backup scat back, is solid. They have Jerry Jeudy down there. That's a pretty decent wide receiver. They got David Njoku, who's the tight end, physical tight end. Saints have problems with those guys. And they also have Jameis, who knows the Saints. Jameis was with the Saints for 4 years? Jameis knows the Saints defense, practiced against that defense hundreds of times since he's been down here, knows the Saints defense principle-wise, knows them. Now, there might be slight deviations because Joe Woods is operating them now as opposed to Dennis Allen, but Jameis has been here. So take that in consideration. You know, that's a big thing when you had Jameis here. He's their quarterback now, plus is a spiritual component because they're going to want to get this win for Jameis Winston. So they're not going to come here and lay it down. So my Elvin Kamara, as good as he's been playing as of recent and doing a good job running the ball, Ain't no more drop touchdowns when you're wide open, bro. To me, I really love and appreciate Alvin Kamara, but that's why they pay you money. They don't pay you money to drop wide open touchdown passes, Playboy. That can't happen anymore. Not in that aspect of the game. We can't do that. We eked out that win. We got to clean all that and push all that out and then operate as fine as we possibly could do. So, yeah, you're right, Michael. Shout out to you for that, man. All right. And I think Michael got another one. He says, do you think Mickey is speaking out of anger? That last interview he was, because Mickey is a petty guy, bro. I've been telling people that for a long time. The recent example is Bobby Hebert, who asked him some questions, and Bobby Hebert is getting a lot of that being because he runs that restaurant out there. And listen, man, if y'all ever been to what's Bobby Hebert's restaurant called? The Cajun Cannon? It's something like that. I think it's it's on Veteran down in Metairie. If you ever had a chance to go there, go check him out, man. Bobby Hebert got it. It's now he moves around. I think he be there every now and again when you do some of his broadcasting there. Sometimes every so often, I don't know. But the Cajun Cannon, I don't know if you ever been there, man. I've eaten there. My mother has eaten there. They like it. It was good. I got to give Bobby Hebert a shout out at that restaurant. He got a terrific menu. The food was off the chains, and I got to give Bobby Hebert credit. I also have to give him credit. The reason why I mention this restaurant, because a lot of the people that eat there are diehards. And the diehards, when they see him in there, because he'll be there from time to time, they'll question him about, hey, man, why don't you ask him this? Why don't you ask him that? Why don't you ask him this? And he has been asking what people want him to answer. And as you remember, Loomis is petty. He didn't like that line of questioning. Notice the last 3 times he's done interviews, it's all been with softball Mike. So at the end of the day, man, it is what it is. But yeah, he and then that little interview I started the broadcast off with, yeah, he was peeved because he don't want nobody questioning his decision making. Oh no. Oh hell no. Listen, guy, let me tell you. Dennis Allen, 79, 85. Chuck, hold on. Who was it? Chuck Noll, 75, 85, 12-3. Bill Walsh, Hall of Fame guys, 75, 85, 75. And I heard all the noise before. And that kind of stuff. He was upset because people was trying to get him to come up out of this idea he has about the coaching. Look at what's happening now, and that the injuries is not indicative of the failure the team has had. And the reason is because everybody knows that you cannot use injuries as an excuse to why you are losing. That's why people are blasting the absolute hell out of Mickey Loomis. And might I add, do not forget to add Dennis Lauscher, who's Mickey's boss, along with Mickey Loomis. Make sure when you talk about the failure of the Saints moving forward, you make mention of Dennis Lauscher and Mickey Loomis, the horrible, stinking, trifling law firm of Loomis and Lauscher. Don't ever forget to put those guys together, because Lauscher is Dennis's boss. Is Mickey Loomis's boss, and he's supposed to be watching what Mickey Loomis is doing. He's not doing anything. They had that 7-game losing streak, and Gail had to come down there and handle the business for these 2 guys. And they sit up on their ass watching it fall apart, watching the building burn, and sit up there roasting marshmallows while it's burning. Oh, hold on, stop. This is free fire. Gail, stay back. What are you doing? Mickey, we're trying to stop this from happening. Oh, hold on now, Gail. Hold on now. We get you some marshmallows. You got some sticks over there. Just sit right here. It's free fire. I'll toast you some marshmallows. Let it burn. Crazy. Just out of their damn mind. But thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You're fuck too kind.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, this is it. And I make a joke and I make light of it, bro. But don't forget to put Lauscher in the smoke, too. Lauscher deserves just as much as credit for this failure as Mickey flipping Loomis does. Okay? Don't you forget that. All right. Anyway, man, let's keep it moving on this thing, man. Shout out to you guys for being here. Any questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat. And we got some problems, but it's good. It's called A-Bears. Okay, thank you, bro. I thought, yeah, A-Bears. I thought it was something else, like Cajun Cannon or something. I'm gonna have to look it up when I get the time. What's up, Backwoods? Shout out to you. A student says, Q, who do you think the Saints offense solve? Who do you think the Saints offense solve against when the defense of the other team puts 5 men on the line? Not understanding your question, bro. You think the Saints offense solve against defense put 5 men on the line? Who do you think they solve against? I'm kind of confused, student. Kind of rewrite that for me, brother. Bayou Bowl says Mr. Loomis is acting like a petulant, spoiled, whiny child with the DA firing still. The narcissist needs to retire. Hey, man, shout out to you on that, man. Let me give you a round of applause for that. Bayou Bo is talking some good sense, man, and that's the reality of the situation. Audemars says Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon. There you go. That's it right there. I know it was a long ass title, but hey, man, if you're ever over there, go ahead, man, and go check them out, man. Matter of fact, wasn't that me? Yeah, me and when Coach, was this last year? I think it was last year when my dog Big Low and Coach Roney, his wife, came into town. We went and ate at Bobby Hebert's, and I think Molly Mall met us over there too. We were sitting there eating and had a good old time up in there, just kicking it and chilling. It was pretty good, man. It was pretty damn good, man. And I told my mama to check them out. She checked them out. So yeah, they were pretty good, man. Pretty good. All right, what's up, brother Akban is in the house. Shout out to you, brother Oz. How you doing, sir? Appreciate you as well. Pelicans Noel, I see you, fam. Much love to you as well. All right, fam, let's kind of jump off into this thing, man. What's up, B Jizzle? Shout out to my brother B Jizzle, man. Good to see you out there, bro. All right, Cartel says, what's the injury report looking like this week? That has not been released yet. My brother will go right to the live press conference when it happens. It's supposed to be in an hour. We'll be leading up to that, and then the injury report will be released around that time frame. You'll hear directly from the horse's mouth, which is Darren Rizzi. He'll tell you all of that game. So just be patient, my friend. All right. So Jack says, how many turnovers will Winston have? Well, we want him to have a bunch of them. That's for certain, man, especially against our defense. We need the offense needs all the help it can get. Bayou both says Q is Eric McCoy starting this Sunday. All indications are that Eric McCoy will be active and should be playing in this game, bro. No doubt about it. They put McGovern, who's the backup center we pilfered from the Jets in the street. They activated backup center Shane Lemieux, and he's now on the active. And I was like, I don't know. You might want to put Lemieux on the practice squad and keep McGovern. McGovern's a 7 or 9 year veteran. And I'm like, man, McGovern didn't play all that bad. You would want to keep him just in case you have an issue with Eric McCoy, just in case there's a setback. And that's what I'm saying. To me, if you look at McGovern or Shane Lemieux, I would go with McGovern, man. The Saints, that was the problem they made to start the season. They did not have a veteran backup center. If our center, because McCoy went down and the Saints, what he was doing in terms of calling, the protections and everything that he was doing on the offensive line, when he went down, because they were tasking McCoy with a lot of stuff that Carr was supposed to be doing. Real spill. But when he went down, boy, they started to scramble. And that's why I was like, man, when you have a good veteran backup center, come on. It's to have a decent blindside tackle who can play either the sides and have a good veteran backup center. That's two things that you got to have. And we really struggled to get that together. Brother Kendall says, I have to admit it, man. I understand Gail Benson still can't believe DA gone. Salute to Gail. Yeah, well, it had to happen because we commanded it. The Who Dat Nation said, man, we are not going to support this terrible product. You cannot justify keeping a head coach in the NFL in his third year, and he's on he was on a 7-game losing streak. You cannot justify that. You can't justify it. You can't. Mickey was like, hold on, yes, we will. And yes, we can. And I'm Mickey Loomis, and I approve this message. Dennis Allen is our coach. Dennis Allen's an excellent coach. No, he's not an excellent coach. I can't even say he was a good defensive coordinator because the defense that he was supposed to be known for fell out. They bottomed out. They were ranked 30th. That was a big part of why the Saints were failing too. The defense just bottomed out. They were allowing teams to rush at 170, 180. And didn't one team have like 200 yards rushing on the Saints defense? Well, that was deep down. That's injuries, Q. But hey, man, we have a depth chart here. Everybody has injuries. Let me do the Mickey hand gesture. You know, when he threw his hands up, wow, I heard the same thing before. You know, the Mickey hand gestures. Oh, I know. But all I'm saying is that you cannot utilize and use the depth chart or, well, the injury situation as an excuse to fail. That's why you have access to, at the time, trades, free agency, or practice squad. And you have to be constantly going and moving. The thing about Mickey Loomis, he's not an involved general manager. He's only a manager in title. He doesn't want to be active like that. So he'll sit on his ass and say injuries, and think that that's enough to pacify you. And it's not. That used to be the case. That's what he's going on, that previous behavior thing. That was the past behaviors. That doesn't apply, because Sean Payton's not here to protect him anymore. And now you see him as the emperor, like that old term, the emperor has no clothes. That's what you see with Mickey Loomis right now. The decision making is just ridiculous. Student says autocorrect. How do they solve the problem when they face a 5 defensive lineman defense? For example, what the Eagles did to us this year. Yeah, the only way to deal with that, because you're going to see a lot of that coming up over the next couple of games, because like it showed you in the Atlanta game, the Atlanta Falcons was supposed to win that game, but they failed. A lot of bad passes by Kirk Cousins. You had a surefire kicker that went 1 for 4. You had a block on one of them that you probably won't ever see that again from Koo, for him to kick that poorly, because that dude is usually money against you. And the fact that you dropping wide open touchdown passes don't bode well for you as in terms of winning. But they eked out. That's why the term I did the broadcast, the recap, was the Saints eked out a win. They didn't take the win. They eked that out. You know, the defense made some plays and the clock ran out and they would have led. They had the lead, but they didn't, blow out the game. It's just, it would be a different energy. You blow out the game, you get the touchdown, you run it, game blows out, and then you carry that energy against the Browns. Nonetheless, you have to kind of look at that whole thing. The Saints have to situate themselves. But anyway, getting back to your question before I kind of go into a sidebar there, because I'm about to hit over there in that sidebar again. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The Saints will have to get down the field, fam. That's the bottom line. The Saints will have to use. That's why I was looking at it, the free agent wire, and see if the Saints were at least bringing in some wide receivers. They did none of that. They saying we're good with what we got, which is a mistake. You're not good with what you got. You need other guys to get involved. You need to go to free agency. I know they got guys. You can't tell me they don't got better guys in free agent than what we got on these practice squads. Come on. I like what Kevin Austin Jr. did, but goddamn. You can't tell me they ain't got better wide receivers in free agency right now that you can bring in that are familiar with the system that you bring in, or that you can bring in and kind of get them involved, that you can find a role for these guys. They got to lean heavily on MVS. That's the bottom line. MVS is not no rookie. He's an experienced veteran who has speed and size. They will have to have more of a plan to get the ball downfield to him. They're going to utilize the play action to Derek Carr, who did a really good job in that second half. The Saints have to study that the second quarter. That's it. The second quarter film, and see if they can produce that, because that's when they got in the flow. They got into the game and they made stuff happen. Then on certain third downs too, the Saints have to be able to some kind of way, get more intelligent, not make the not make the mistakes, low IQ football type stuff that gets you beat. You can't do that. So, the pre-snap penalties that you have to be backed up for. Carr's going to have to be more accurate on those third downs. He's going to have to flow a little faster. If you went and looked at the tape, you see that he wasn't as fast as he needed to. Like, it was a play where if he was a little faster, he could have got the ball downfield. The Jawan Johnson, when Jawan was cutting inside, there was nothing but green area there. He's seen it. But the thing is, if he would just have an anticipatory throw and just put it in that area, Jawan could have got to it and made a play. But instead, the pressure from the line forced him outright, and he had to throw the ball away on that third down. And then they have to live. I think they had to live with a punt, or no, it was a field goal or a punt. I think it was a punt because it was back up. No, it was a field goal. They had to live with a field goal. But those little things changed the dynamics of the game. Like they had some really good drives in that first period of the game, and then the drive just died, and they had to settle for field goals. Can't do that. We got to be able to get in the end zone consistently. And that'll change things around. So, yeah, they're going to have to get downfield because they ain't no running up against that, bro. They ain't no running. You got 5 guys there. And they have a 5-man front. And I'm pretty sure if they see you running, they're going to have them linebackers to set up and they're going to blitz those holes. It ain't no running up against that. So you're going to have to take advantage of that by getting down the field. So they're going to have to figure that out, man. Taysom Hill maybe used more as a wide receiver to add some more explosiveness to the wide receiver core, being that we have some injuries that out. Maybe that's something that we need to investigate. You know what I'm saying? Taysom Hill, the wide receiver. We need to kind of see if we can look at that, right? Taysom Hill going to catch that goddamn ball, and he's fast, and he's tough to bring down. Maybe Taysom Hill, the wide receiver, could be the answer to getting the ball up the field. You know what I mean, fam? It takes some imagination if you ain't going to bring in other guys. Take some of these other guys, move them around a bit, so we'll see how it goes, man. All right. Anyway, shout out to y'all. What's up? Head Trauma, T Dirty. Shout out to you, brother. Good to see you in here. Shout out to my boy T Dirty. All right. Brother Max says, Q, you think Mickey disagreeing with Gail on Dennis' situation makes his seat any hotter? They were saying in the reports, man, that it was definitely a breakage of trust at the very least. And listen, they're like, okay. All right, that sounds something, but listen, that is huge because there was nothing but full trust with Gail and Lauscha and Loomis. I'm going to be throwing Lauscha out there a lot now because I do not want him to get lost in this. He's a part of the funk and the failure of why the Saints was stinking. I'm going to keep putting them out there on thumbnails and everything. When I put Mickey Loomis together, I'm putting Dennis Lauscha, the team president, with him. Lauscha is a part of this crap too. Do not forget to put Dennis Lauscha out there. Dennis Lauscha is supposed to be watching what Mickey Loomis does. It's supposed to be oversight. He's not doing a damn thing. So, yes, Lauscha and Loomis together. But, yeah, you're absolutely right, bro. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's a situation. All right, Trauma says, Q, do you think Loomis would consider keeping Rizzi if he wins out? Absolutely. It'll be because according to what Jeff Duncan was saying, if it's true, I don't know. But he said that they're paying Dennis Allen $7 million a year, which is ridiculous. And he had a 5-year agreement and they fired him after 3 years. So they owe him, according to what he was saying, which he says he don't know. That's what he heard. They owe this clown $14 million, if that's true. So if the Saints are seeing that, they may like, maybe they don't want to spend a lot of money on the coach because they already spent one on one they fired, which is why somebody didn't want to fire him in the get-go. You get that? Did you catch that, baby? That's what I'm saying, man. So yeah, they'll keep Rizzi because Rizzi would be probably the cheapest coach in the NFL. He will agree to the timeline that the Saints do not want to destroy or break up. He will agree to the timeline. He would adhere to the plan that Loomis has where they do not want to tear the team up. Like, why, Q? Why not tear the damn team up? Because I keep telling you over and over again, the Saints are going to go through this for the next 2 years until all the cap money is opened up. All those contracts, great deal of them will fall off the books in 3 years from now, and you will have a total new team with a cap of over $200 million. So the Saints said we lock into the timeline and we make it happen. Now, the crazy part about it is if you look at the contracts for 2025, the number one contract from an annual standpoint that you will have to pay is Derek Carr's $30 million, which might put the Saints, that obviously will be the contract they will have to rework again. That's where a great bulk of the free agency money going to come from the contract of Derek Carr. It balloons to $30 million for one season, and that's the greatest number among active contracts annually speaking. So we know exactly where he's going to go to when it's time to restructure. And he's like, oh, damn, Q, what's going to happen with that? All that's going to do is kick the money into 2026. That's why I was telling you that 27, he told you 2-year rebuild, like in terms of keeping that contracts, but that's the rebuild, but the money goes 3 years and you won't see it. 200 million, a big relief until 27. That's truth talk there. I've been saying this for a while. I've been laying all this out. That's why people say, Q, why not? And I tell you the economics of it. I tell you over and over the economics. We lay out the game and I keep it 1,000% funky. No doubt about it. All right. What's up, Clint? Shout out to Clint. What's up to my brother Hoffa? Big ups to you. Much love to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the building. Brother Dave, how you doing, sir? Good to see you, man. Hope all is well to the fam out there. Free Mind, what's up, fam? Shout out to you. I see you, fam. Appreciate y'all as well. Big ups to the fam, man. Y'all hit the like button and answer that poll question I got right there. It's saying, who do you think wins Sunday? 80% of the diehards say the black and gold beat the Browns. 20% says, I think the Browns and Jameis gonna get it. What do you say? All right, big ups to y'all, man. Anyway, let's head into it, man. Let's kind of go into some of this cap stuff first, and then we'll bounce around and get to Mickey. And like I said, fam, we'll have when they go live for the presser for Darren Rizzi, that's supposed to happen, I think it's in less than 60 minutes. Yeah, about 40 something odd minutes. We'll go right live to the Rizzi interview and hear his thought process. He'll tell us all about the injuries and everything that's circulating around with the Saints in terms of who will be available who was there Wednesday and all that. And right around that time, they'll release the injury report during that press conference or right after that, and we'll cover all of that into it. All right, shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for being in this thing, man. Let's keep it moving. But here go a little something right here, fam. Shout out to over the cap situation. This is what it looks like for next year. Teams with least projected cap room for 2025. Just for perspective, 50-man roster, 272.5 million cap in carryover. This is the projections of 2025 salary cap. Look where the Saints are. They're over $65 million. The closest team to them is the Browns, who we play this Sunday at 19.4. Do you understand? Look at a discrepancy in cash there. We talking about 35 to 40 something $million discrepancy for 2025. This is Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lausch's idea of what of team building. You know, that's slick, crazy Mickey Loomis. This guy right here. Wow, look at me. Look at that face. Hold on now. Hold on. Take that face off of that. That was a bad picture. You can see Dennis Lauscher behind him. That's Lauscher and Loomis. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hold on now. All right, but yeah, this is a part of the game. Now we're gonna go into this article right here momentarily and talk about this because it's a very lengthy ass article. That this was written by Jason Fitzgerald of Over the Cap, where they talk about the Saints cap situation. And it's a lot to be said. So I'm going to do my best to go through it. But a lot of the stuff we just made mention of, the fact that how it feels and what they feel, what they need to do to get from under certain contracts. But like I said, man, he makes a recommendation in terms of the car situation and what we should do with that. And it's just very interesting to say the very least, man, about this whole situation, man. But anyway, let's kind of go into the Mickey Loomis thing. And just for some of the family members that didn't give a chance to listen to the Mickey Loomis interview they put out about an hour or two ago, here it is. This is Mickey Loomis's thoughts with Mike Hoss as the interviewer about the Saints win over the Falcons. Put one in the chat if y'all can hear it, man.
Welcome, everyone, to the Saints Hour. Mike Hoss, along with the Saints Executive Vice President and General Manager Mickey Loomis. And, you know, as they say, a win is a win. And if you end the 7-game slide,
that's right.
You beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-17. And, you know, a team that struggled in that 7-game slide to close games. And you look at this one and you go, oh, my gosh, you know, one of the most difficult to close. Didn't play your best football in the second half.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Tyrann Mathieu, that interception, Chase Young, that sack fumble. When you needed to have a huge play defensively, you got it.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, look, we had, we've had, I think, 4 games now where the defense on the field at the end of the game and had a couple bad breaks in a couple of those games, but we were able to close this one out.
That's
Good play by Tyrann. As you mentioned, a big sack by Chase Young, and really some good plays by a number of guys, including some guys that haven't played a lot of football for us this year that were out there because of some other players that are injured and couldn't go. So, look, it's always great to beat the Falcons, number one. That's a game that I know our fans and all of us circle every year. Beat the division opponent, beat the rival. So that was good, and they've been playing good football. They've won a number of games now, and they're a good football team. But I felt like we played really well, particularly in the first half. We had some things happen in the second half, maybe that we didn't get going as good as we wanted to offensively, but there was a lot of good things.
You watched, obviously, from a part of it. I shouldn't say watched, but you watched as Coach Rizzi took the reins last week, and he said it exactly. He said, I'm not here to hold on to the reins, and the amount of change, was significant. You can't fake what he did. You can't fake who he is. And
shout out to DA.
Excitement, except for the Peyton Turner kind of congratulations was just special.
Yeah, shout out to DA first and foremost.
Yeah, I think this, when you have a midseason change, and this goes for any team, you're gonna get a little bump in emotion, right? And I thought Rizzi did a great job of accentuating that, of having some tangible things that were different relative to the week, the preparation. I think he stated some things verbally that needed to be stated. Talked a lot about accountability and being all in and having a different mindset for the week, and accentuating that. And
it'd be nice for him to have some accountability.
Yeah, and I think most importantly, our team responded to that this week.
That's right. And
look, we got some guys back as well that made a difference, and ended up with a win and a close game.
You talked about a lot of those guys. Some of the guys that hadn't been. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had the 2 touchdowns. Now, he had joined the team on October 15th. Didn't play Denver. Didn't play, but he was still working out with Derek, so he still was kind of getting some of that timing. But that, the 3 catches, 2 touchdowns, because you didn't have Cedric, you didn't have Olave. I mean, those were huge.
Yeah, look, I'm guessing that most of our fans didn't know who Marquez was before the game. They certainly do now. He made 2 huge plays.
We know who he is, Mickey. Come on.
3 huge plays, really, because he had 2 explosive plays and then the touchdown. It's like Kevin Austin made a couple of nice plays in the game, 2 big catches for first downs in tough critical situations. Just a lot of guys stepped up. We had some guys on defense as well. Hugo, who's been here and been a good player for us.
That's right.
Had the opportunity to play and made a lot of nice plays. Shamar, so we've just had some guys that stepped in.
Shamar, I forgot his damn name, but he made some plays
and did their job. And then we had some guys that we've had that have been playing that just did a little bit more, and that's what it takes.
Younghoe Koo, 1 for 4. I'm going to ask a question, but it's not going to be about Younghoe Koo because he's wide left on the first, and then Ridgeway blocks the second, coming in from the defense, like the kind of, if you would say, the offensive left side, defensive right side, and then on the third one, they all flipped to the other side. So the question is really about, it felt like to me that defensively special teams were impacting his kicks more than necessarily his kicks.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot in our league when guys do miss. There's just because you don't necessarily block a kick doesn't mean you don't affect it. And I felt like our field goal block team did a good job at affecting kicks. Now, I'm also, it feels like that nobody ever misses a kick against us, particularly in the dome.
That's the way I feel. And especially Younghoe Koo.
Right, no question. It felt good that finally somebody somebody missed some field goals at the Superdome. In terms of our opponent.
The Saints with their second game at home during this home stretch, Cleveland, then a much-deserved bye week. And then the LA Rams are coming to town, but not until December 1st. The Saints hoping to make the most of this homestand and get a streak going themselves. The Saints Hour will continue with
parts.
they've got no timeouts. Did you think they were going for it on fourth, or they'd run coup out? Just take me through the final third and whatever it was, 3rd and 29, and then the final play.
Yeah, well, they got a nice gain on 3rd down. I thought maybe they might try to run the field goal team out there and kick what would have amounted to a 61 or 62-yard field goal. But they didn't. They tried to get a first down, and look, our guys did a good job of tackling and making sure that they didn't get to the first down marker on a short throw. And I thought we had good pressure on the quarterback in that last series or two. And those are the kinds of plays that sometimes they get made, and Kirk Cousins has made a lot of those plays at the end of the game to put them in a position to win a game. They did it last time in Atlanta. Made some plays on their last drive to get themselves into field goal range, and this time, our defense stepped up and made a couple big plays.
Talk to Jari a little bit about and talked actually last night to Coach John Benton about the offensive line, and I was curious about your thoughts on Trevor Penning and just his confidence level, and if you've watched it kind of grow through this season.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at, I always try to look at what are the positive things that have happened during the course of a season, even when we're 3-7. I think one of the positives is, man, I can see the development of a really good offensive line down the road. We've got a rookie left tackle who's done some good things. We've got, I know we've got a top flight center in Eric McCoy when he's available. We've got a developmental left guard in Nick Saldiveri. I think Lucas Patrick has played well when he's been available. Caesar's a really solid player, and the arrow's up on him. And then Trevor has made a lot of progress this year. And each week, I feel like our offensive line coaches, John Benton and Rick Dennison, they've spent a lot of time and effort working with Trevor, working on lots of fundamentals, as well as his mental preparation for the game. And you can see the progress. It's not there yet. It's not where we need it to be ultimately, but you can see the progress. And I feel like, and this is a better question for his coaches than me, I just feel like he's gaining confidence, and each week, we see plays and we see progress.
Yeah, the Penning thing, man, that was one of the base concerns we had for the Saints coming into the season, because he looked so unprepared, especially in the preseason. Then he had that really good outing in the preseason. And ever since then, this is really his rookie year. The Saints really, and that's why I often kind of tell the family members when we start talking about Trevor Penning, is that the Saints didn't do him right. Like the first year he came, he didn't play any of those games until the last game of the year with Carolina. That's when they marched him out there. Then the last year, they threw him in there at the left tackle position. He burned. They ripped him out of there. And then they just buried him on the active depth chart. He rarely got any time. And then the third year, when they need him because they overbet on Ryan Ramczyk, they had to throw him out there. But the whole time I kept telling them that guy's not a left tackle. I kept saying that. You want a left tackle, put Ryan Ramczyk's ass out there. Let him play the left tackle. He making all that money. Let him play the left tackle position. At the time, Saints was hiding the record. They was hiding the injury, how bad Ryan Ramczyk's knee was, which would explain why they didn't move him from the right tackle position. But they threw Penning out there, even though Penning was unprepared and he got burned. He took a lot of the slack. It almost destroyed him, because it happens with some of these young football players. Like you've seen what happened with Carolina, where Bryce Young is finally getting the opportunity to play without the stress. Like the first year, he could not handle the pressure of commanding an NFL team and taking them anywhere. Now you see the Carolina Panthers with nothing to play for. Bryce Young is out there moving around, making plays. Carolina has won 2 in a row now. It's a different world when you don't have the pressure to perform or the expectations of doing this type of stuff. You can organically grow the way you're supposed to, and he'll be better for it for next year. He's, getting those reps. It's the same thing with Penning. This is really a rookie year for Penning because he hadn't really played that much. I mean, prior to this season, it was 5 or 6 games that he played for the Saints. So he's basically a rookie. But him being out there, he went through the lumps and bumps and the bruises. He's been the most stable offensive lineman the Saints have had. Everybody has been hurt except for Penning. Everybody. Tally Fuaga's been hurt. The entire rest of the interior offensive line. McCoy just coming back. Lucas Patrick can't stay healthy. He in and out of the lineup. Cesar Ruiz was going with a knee issue for a long time. He's the only offensive lineman that has been there consistently. He plays high at times, but that's a part of refining this game, getting confidence. He can run, like I've been saying, the stalwart for Penning is he's an excellent run blocking guard. Sometimes he plays a little too high. Sometimes he get confused on who he's supposed to block. But all that's going to be ironed out. He just needs the time to keep doing what he's doing. So that's a bright spot where we had all these concerns about the offensive line, right? So that's well said by old Loomis.
So here comes Cleveland. They come in off of a bye week, and it's always tough to face a team coming off of their bye week. They're not playing very well, 2-7. You face one of your former quarterbacks in Jameis Winston, and
Jameis is coming down. Jameis is coming down.
The Jameis situation is, they beat Baltimore, I believe it was week 8, because they were off week 10. So he's 3 touchdowns, no picks, and they win the game. Then the next game he's got 1 touchdown and 3 picks. And so, and the last time you played Cleveland, Joe Woods was the defensive coordinator for Cleveland. Yeah. Now he's the defensive coordinator for you guys. So as much as they change, sometimes they stay the same. But this is, those 2 things, them beating Baltimore, Jameis, and open week is enough to get anybody's attention.
Yeah, look, they've got a talented team, and look, they're desperate for a win, just like we are, and so they've got a really good coaching staff, and look, they've had some injuries. They've had some things, bounce the wrong way, much like we have. And yet, they're going to be desperate for a win, and we have to match that intensity and put our best foot forward and play. We're going to have to play a really good game to get a win, like you have to do every week in the NFL.
And same thing from Coach Rizzi standpoint, just you kind of, there's much change. I know he loved the change last week, but, just keep doing what you're doing. And, he made some changes to the practice schedule, really put the computers to work on speed of practice. And so, just
something that Dennis Allen didn't do.
Right.
Yeah. I think the challenge is look, there was a lot of positive energy last week, culminated in a win against Atlanta. And the challenge this week is to maintain that level of energy, maintain that level of preparation, and carry that into Sunday. And look, that's the challenge every week from here on out.
Hey, Louisiana.
That's what I want people to get right here is the difference in where Rizzi took over versus with Dennis Allen. He just didn't assume the head coaching job. That's one thing I want that to be known. I know you guys, the Great Saint Think Tank, we know that, but that's still a message that needs to be put out there for Rizzi to get full credit. Because as you know, not Dennis Allen, I might as well say Dennis Allen, Derek Carr's got up there and gave him a shout out into the end of the game. And not just, cool, let's give a guy a shout out, but to say thank you, DA, for getting us here. What you mean getting us here? What are you talking about? The hell are you talking about? Getting you where? What he did, a 7-game losing streak? It was Rizzi who made the changes. There were several changes that Rizzi had to do, including changing out coaches, taking Ty Grantham and ripping him down from the defensive line and putting Brian Young up there. Giving the defense in totality over to Coach Joe Woods and making several other improvements, special teams wise, as well as defense. And then one of the biggest changes was the communication went up between each aspect or segment of the team, offense, defense, special teams. The communication went up because a lot of the changes were inspired and brought to him by these other coaches. They knew exactly what was wrong and why they were losing. And why you go on 7-game losing streaks is because the head coach doesn't make the changes needed to fix the team. He just sits up there, looks stupid like a possum, and shit keep falling through the floor. And then you got this moron telling them, man, hold on, Dennis, listen, no matter how hot it gets, I got your back, guy. I got your back. You're going to collect all your money. I promise you that. You're going to feed, let me tell you, you're going to be all right. I got you, buddy. I got you, buddy. I got you. I hired you and I don't fire. I hire, but I don't fire. So what happened was Gil says, no, you're going to fire that guy. You're going to get that goddamn guy out of here because the support base is upset. The players, I talked to the players and the support base, they're upset. You're going to get rid of that goddamn guy. You're going to get his ass out of here. And that's what happened. He fired him. And it was a sigh of relief. And then you even hear Tyrann Mathieu comes out. And Tyrann Mathieu was Jazzy Jeffing for a long time for Dennis Allen, but he kind of spoke on the truth on some of these recent interviews. I heard him. Remember, he says, for whatever reason, Tyrann couldn't be Tyrann. I'm like, what? He being Tyrann now. So getting a losing coach who's hard-headed and ignorant, who got both his ears stuck full of cotton and also resembles a possum, you getting that guy out of here was a breath of fresh air for the entire organization. Darren Rizzi came in there with that big energy, that infectious energy, and infused that team. And that's what you need. You need a super motivator with a ton of energy to galvanize a half-dead team. Almost like pumping tons of energy into the dead body of Lazarus to get him to rise again. Saints were damn near out of here. One more loss could doom their season. So it's going to take all of that and then some for the Saints to start wielding themselves to a win. And Darren Rizzi got a ton of energy. He might not be the smartest guy, but I tell you what, he got a ton of energy for your ass. That's all I got to say about it. But nothing about Dennis Allen, his flip-floppy nature.
Have treasured Jim holes, preventing
With new deal, because not the game, you can check Funnily.
All right, hold on, fam.
Hey, Louisiana, not our truck.
All right, that's the end of it right there. So,
and yet, they're going to be desperate for a win, and
I can't hear with him.
okay, that's the end of it. All right, so anyway, big ups to the fam, man. Let's move on to the next one here, man. Let's hit this up right here as we wait for the press conference to happen here. This is a situation that happened in terms of the Saints salary cap situation, as according to him. Shout out to you guys. What's up, brother? Gundam is in this thing. Big Q just sits up there looking like, yeah, it's just, listen, man. Listen, bro. I'm a real dude, man, but I don't play the fake stuff. I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy for that. And you give credit when credit is due. Give credit when credit is due. But when some people say off-code shit, it's just guys that live like an off-code life and think they can slide back and forth between off-code and code shit, and it don't work like that. That's why checking is involved. You got to check people. It says, nah, bro, you're not going to sit up here and give credit to some bum coach who couldn't do nothing but what he had and lost the team. That's why they were on a 7-game losing streak, not exclusively due to injuries, because you're the head coach. You have the ability to bring, if guys are not handling their business, let's talk to these coaches. What do you need to make this turnaround? Offensive line, running backs, whatever. I'm evaluating people. You understand what I'm saying, family? I'm evaluating everything. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at my coaches. I'm looking at my players. And I'm saying, man, what is going on here? But I wouldn't have waited to 7 games to get that upset about it. I would have done it in 2. When that's a pattern. You lose 1, that's one thing, but you lose 2, that's the beginning of a pattern. The Saints didn't stop there. They lost 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and then, oh no, we got to have a players only meeting, which they didn't have because Dennis Allen was there. He catered the joint, and then they still lost the next game to the worst team in the NFL at the time. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, these guys are not serious, because if they were, coaches would have been demoted, players would have been cut up off the team. Because obviously you got a bunch of players here that's collecting checks. You see what I'm saying? They're comfortable and cool with that kind of bullshit, and whoever your team leaders are, some of these guys need to be demoted from team leaders, because they're supposed to be setting fire to the building. They're supposed to be in there railing against the head coach. And if the head coach ain't listening, they ain't going to be able to listen to Mickey Loomis, because Mickey Loomis is not a leader of men. Mickey Loomis is a vice president of football operation. That's all Mickey Loomis is. He's not a leader of men. I've already told y'all, and the reporters have already told y'all, that Mickey Loomis does not even talk to them players. He rarely talks to them. He goes in his goddamn room and he closes the door. What kind of general manager is this? That is not the meaning of the term general manage. You're supposed to be in that generally managing some shit, and you're supposed to be looking over these players. You're supposed to be keeping a daily, if not weekly, toll on the temperature of your team, looking at this and having a evaluation process or a chart or a graph or something you use to check out and make sure that these guys are doing what they got to do. Calling Dennis Allen, find out, giving them ultimatums. Listen, if you don't get here, I'm gonna have to put you in the street. Not just sitting up there while the team crashed and burned and there's a mutiny that causes Gail to get down there and fire him. That's why I'm saying, if any true rebuild or whatever's going to happen for the Saints in the future, it has to involve other leadership, which word on the street stuff is supposed to happen. They'll bring other people into the building to bring youth and more football IQ to the upper areas of the team, because they don't have that with Dennis Lauscher. Dennis Lauscher is a businessman. He has no kind of shape, form, fashion on football on the field. He shouldn't be the president of football operations. He did a shitty job in overseeing Mickey Loomis. When Mickey Loomis was failing to do his job as a general manager, he should have demoted him and ripped the position away from him and gave it to Kai Hartley. That's the answer. No more general manager for Loomis. He can keep the VP because you won't fire him. Once again, I'm going to say it again. There is no firing of Mickey Loomis. It won't happen. Not because he's written into the will of Gail, but the fact of the matter is he's not a bad VP, but he's a shitty general manager because he doesn't manage anything. He just has it because he's an attention whore. That's why he takes it, so he can stand before the press. But that needs to be ripped away. Kai Hartley should be the general manager. The answer to that is rip away the general manager position and give it to Kai Hartley. Bring in a true football president. A guy that was a player in the NFL at a high level and went through the NFL executive program. Bring that guy in as the president and create another position for Dennis Lauscher that had nothing to do with football on the field. Make him the president of business or whatever the tag may be that doesn't involve him being the president of football operation, because he don't know nothing about how you got the football president of the Saints football and you don't know nothing about football on the field, man. What's going on here? You're a joke. And so is this Loomis cretin. So at the end of the day, all this needs to be changed. She understands that, and she has her own team. She has a group of people that she listens to, and I don't know and I don't think it's Loomis or Lauscher's in that group. There is a crack and break in the fracture of the trust along with Loomis and Lauscher. This is the first time we've seen it, to the point where it was severe enough for her to come down there and command them to be fired. When Mickey Loomis like, no, please, don't do it. Don't fire him. Hold on now. No, and she says, no, put that effing guy in the street. He destroying everything, and he messing with my money. So they make it look, okay. All right. Well, after I finish my clam chowder, I'll put him in the street. Okay, Gail? All right. So that's what it is. That's how it is. And that's how it's going to be, because we're not going to relent, man. These guys need to be moved around here, man. We need fresher and smarter people at the top of this organization, football-wise, for us to move into doing what we need to do to contend for championships, man. They squandering all this talent right now with this foolishness. It's just unsettling. Anyway, let's move forward, man. Let's jump right into it. Shout out to y'all. Y'all hit that like button for me as we keep it moving and grooving in this organization as well. So when you talk about Mickey Loomis, do not forget to put Lauscher up there. Dennis Lauscher is his boss. Do not forget to put Dennis Lauscher up there. He's just as responsible as Mickey Loomis. He's Mickey Loomis's boss. He allowed Mickey Loomis to destroy the cap. He allowed Mickey Loomis to hire this bum ass coach. He allowed him to do all this foolishness. He even allows him to talk reckless to the reporters, be disrespectful. He allows all of that. Don't check him. So both of them need to be put in there. Put Lauscher in there too. Do not talk about Mickey Loomis without putting Lauscher with him. Make them twins. The dysfunctional twins, put them together. Loomis and Loomis, the shitty law firm of Loomis and Lauscher, or Lauscher and Loomis. Make sure you joint those clowns at the hip when we talk about the problems of the New Orleans Saints organization at the high echelon. Put Loomis and Lucia and Loomis together. Keep them together. That's where it needs to be. Anyway, looking at the Saints calorie stat, let me give y'all a full screen on this one here. This was from Over the Caps. Jason Fitzgerald wrote this November the 9th, and it basically talks about the Saints situation. And like I said, fam, y'all hit the like button as soon as we, in about 18, 19 minutes or so, we'll go to the press conference of Darren Rizzi soon as it's made available. We'll cover that, then recap it, go over the report after the fact, and keep it pushing. But for right now, we're going to go into this. Just to give some insight, more insight on the cap situation according to what Over the Cap thinks, right? So anyway, it's time of the year when the Saints begin to fall out of contention and people start asking me about the salary cap situation for the following year. This year, it feels a little bit bleaker than usual because Saints have one of the worst records in the NFL and just fired their head coach. But the mechanics of dealing with the team's salary cap woes are generally same as usual. Every season, many of the Saints supporters get upset with me for pointing out the issues with the salary cap. The point of the discussions every year, however, is not about the Saints not being able to get under the salary cap, but it is about what damage they're doing to the future roster by comprising the flexibility they have with the players, in large part due to salary cap consequences of releasing those players. The Saints' issues with the salary cap have gone on for more than a decade, but they have two distinct phases to look at. In the mid 2010s, the Saints got caught up in some bad contract decisions, both in free agency and regarding extensions given to players on their own roster. The Saints led the NFL in dead money in 2015 and 2016 and ranked 6th in 2017. Over that 3-year stretch, the Saints had about 20 million more than the next closest team in the NFL and were 58 million worse than NFL average. This was during the time period when the Saints went 7-9 every year from 2014 to 2016, despite having one of the top QBs in the NFL in his prime during that period of time. Now, to add some contracts to this, some comparative breakdown to this whole time that he's talking about, there was a time, and we forget this at time, when the Saints were struggling, that Sean Payton, who was running the team at the time, was more focused on the Saints offense than he was on the defense. It was times when that's why the offense was so good. He gave all of the resources. He completed the offense and was totally fixated in on offense, and the defense was not what it was supposed to be. The resources, they didn't have the same energy and effort to building up the defense. And when Sean Payton learned that after those three losing seasons, that he started putting all kind of resources, including bringing in draft picks and coaches, as well as players to help raise the defense up. And then that's when you've seen it changed. But that was just what Sean Payton was doing, right? Just being that coach. But anyway, the Saints were able to get out of that mess through exceptional drafting, which saw them bounce back in 2017 to an 11-5 record. And then they were a legit Super Bowl contender for the next 3 years due to the strength of their draft classes. During that period, the Saints moved away from some of the things that got them in trouble in 2014-2016 era. Gone for the most part were they overpriced contracts. Instead, the team focused on more calculated decisions with their roster and negotiating contracts that I would consider as fair or team friendly. Now, a lot of the philosophy that he might be mentioning about was the fact that the Saints were doing a decent job of drafting, right? Doing it because usually two ways, like free agency is the most expensive of the three routes that you use to build your team. Number one, expensive is free agency. Number two is drafting. And the third one is undrafted. Now notice look at what your Saints are doing nowadays. Think about that. They're not drafting that well because the last two defensive ends they drafted failed. We're talking Marcus Davenport. We're talking Peyton Turner, even though Peyton Turner had a pretty good couple of moves in the last game and a few plays here or there this season. He's out of here after this year. The Saints not going to bring him back. They've declined his 5th-year option. He's gone. That's another bust player. Couldn't stay healthy, couldn't contribute, and is basically a role player in his final year. This is 4 years of Peyton Turner. It's supposed to be the best you've seen of him. And the Saints brought in Chase Young on a 1-year deal. And what did that do to Peyton Turner? That pretty much told him, we done with you. You're just a reserve 1st-round draft pick. You'll be out the door. The Saints also drafted Isaiah Foskey as well to bring him in here to see what he can do last year. And Isaiah Foskey is relegated to a reserve role too. So he's not getting a lot of the reps or the development. Hopefully some of this to change as you get a new defensive line coach will kind of help the process. But the reality is the Saints have not done a great job of drafting, but the undrafted market, they've been tearing that up. So that's how you've seen the Saints focus. They have a reputation around the NFL of the best undrafted guys make it a point to beeline straight to New Orleans, because if you can play, the Saints will give you a contract. It won't be an expensive one. You have to earn up, just like you've seen with Deontay Harris-Hardy, just like you've seen with Rashid Shaheed, just like you've seen with JT Gray, just like you've seen when I can go all the Carl Granderson and go down the list over and over of undrafted guys the Saints brought on. That's how they've been doing it. Anyway, let's go back to this article right here and keep it moving, right? All right. So, but when the team was no longer ranking at the top of the NFL and dead money due to cuts, they began the process of over-relying on contract restructures to keep their roster intact and continue chasing a Super Bowl ring. A contract restructure is when a team converts a player's salary into a bonus that splits over 5 years. The benefit of the restructure is that it lowers a player's salary cap charge in the current year. However, it increases the player's salary cap charge in every year, as well as the remaining year, as well as the salary cap cost for the releasing of a player. How excessive is New Orleans' use of restructures? From 2020 to 2024, they've ranked no lower than second in any given year in the amount of salary converted to a bonus for salary cap reasons or whatever. You see, very interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. This is, man. Number two, between 2020 and 2024. Okay, over the entire term, no team is even in the same ball cap as New Orleans. The Saints have restructured around $450 million to create nearly $340 million in cap space over that time frame. Let me say that again. The Saints have restructured around $450 million to create $340 million in space over that time frame. The amount converted is staggering. $254 million more than the next closest team. The amount is a staggering $254 million more dollars than the second place team in terms of restructuring. 200 plus million more. They have created 182 million in cap room than the next closest team. In recent years, they have had to restructure almost every eligible contract to function. This is true and blue as it could be. True and blue. They are up to nearly 50 restructures, which is 25 more than the next closest team, and does not even count a few players who are extended in large part to lower cap hits. This phase of the Saints salary cap decision making is different than the first one. They have not really cut players, but they have kept kicking the can with the same players, adding some new ones, and then watching some dead money hit the books when contracts expire, and restructured money placed in voided years. This is the phantom year deal stuff that they started doing. When they said voided years, and I just termed it as phantom years because these are unplayable contract years that the Saints backlog contracts with for the next 2 or 3 years. So when a player gets off, he's not physically on your team no more. He's retired or he's going somewhere else. You got this money sitting up here in voided years that the Saints have to pay out to this player. Non-playable year money. This is what Mickey Loomis has done, to sacrifice the team's future. And now that people want to tear it down, he's like, oh, don't do that. It's just he needs to be chastised for this, for what he's done. All right. So anyway, the year situation is worse than the past because there's no masking how bad the team is for the last few years. Hold on, let me see it. Let me go back. Let me bounce back a little. This phase of the Saints salary cap decision making is different than the first one. They have not really cut players, but they have kept kicking the can with the same players. We talked about this for years, adding some new ones and then watching some dead money hit the books, And when contracts expire and restructure money placed in void years hits the books, unfortunately for New Orleans, there's been no exceptional draft class to fix the problems. And things are about to go from bad to worse. This year's situation is worse than the past because there's no masking how bad the team is. For the last few years, the team has been right around the 0.500 and 500 basically. And when the team becomes cap compliant and adds free agents, family members scream that hashtag the cap is fake. End quote. But while the cap is indeed fake in a given year, the accumulation of cap charges gives the team fewer options with a roster. The Saints sit around 63 million over the estimated salary cap next year. Their position is 55 million worse than the closest NFL team. That's ridiculous. But this has been something we've seen a couple of years ago. The Saints was $100 million over the cap. Then they went $80 million in the cap. And we so accustomed to it here that now we sit up here looking at the shit and we saying to ourselves, man, $60 million ain't shit, Q. That ain't nothing. I remember when we were 100 million, 80 million above. You know what I'm saying? You became desensitized to it. This is like I told you, this is Jake Greasy Thumb Goosey type bullshit. This is fake bookkeeping here. This is fake bookkeeping here. This is like I always use the old mobster terms. Jake Greasy Thumb Goosey, the old prohibition gangster who was a crooked bookkeeper for Al Capone and Frank Nitti and these other guys. He would make fake books to hide all of the illegal shit that they was doing. So when the people come around and check their business out, Greasy Thumb had the books on blast for your ass. You go in there and look and they had all the dollars, all of the money that they show in their bank. They don't show you all the stuff. They keep the other stuff tucked off, but they showed a certain amount of money that they kept in their books so that everything matched out. He was really good at that. That's all that guy is. Loomis is Greasy Thumb. Hold on now. Greasy Thumb Mickey. Slick Greasy Thumb Mickey. That's him. All right. So anyway, the Saints hit about, that's crazy, man, that the nearest team, they're $55 million worse than the closest NFL team. I showed y'all that in the tweet. When I said, this is what this is about. This is for next year. The Saints are number one with the cap, 65 plus, and the Browns are 19.4. Yes. All right. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to this. They already led the NFL in dead money, which is $48 million on the books, following the decision to trade Lattimore just months after they opted into a contract restructure that they needed to function for 2024. No, they was trying to trade Latty Daddy. They was trying to trade him because Lattimore was upset about what was going on with the Saints. He was one of the people, like Elvin Kamara, that were talking about how the team was falling through the floor last year. And Mickey Loomis got upset with him and tried to discipline him by trading him out of there and try to play him like he was some type of problem in the locker room when it's this old possum guy over here tearing up everything. That guy's an idiot. He's a moron. He don't even know what's going on with the team. That's how you know he's not talking with those players. You don't have any dialogue. You don't automatically go and back the head coach. You showing bias. That's not how a leader works. You're not supposed to show organizational bias at all. You're not supposed to say, well, we can't talk to Loomis because all he's going to do is just tell you, go talk to Dennis. Well, I hear you, Bucko. Well, times are tough right now, and maybe you need to go and work that out with Dennis. If Jameis had some problems, hey, Mickey, Dennis Allen lied to me. He said that I was going, when I get healthy, that I can get my job back. Even though, the unwritten rule is the quarterback not supposed to lose his job due to injury. That's just the cardinal unwritten rule in the NFL. Well, yeah, Jameis, I hear you on that guy, and I understand you and all that, but, my hands are tied. Listen, guy, you caught me at a bad time, Jameis. I was just drinking my gourmet orange juice, and I just got my clam chowder out the microwave. You caught me at a bad time, and listen, that's just too bad, but maybe you should talk to Dennis about that. Talk to Dennis. None of that. What was that conversation at? But in the end, this is what it is. You're not supposed to show bias. If you got a coach, maybe the coach is wrong in this circumstance. Maybe you need to hear the player out. There's none of that going on. He doesn't talk to those guys. James Hurst said as much. He thought Mickey Loomis was going to come. Remember last year at the end of the year when Dennis Allen threw his team under the bus, and Mickey Loomis told everybody that he had an end of the season presser when he came out and talked to the players. And I told y'all at the time, I said, it's going to be some bullshit. He don't talk to them when they doing well or congratulate, but he going to go out there and talk and tell them that they're not going to be comfortable, because that's what he said he told them. Well, listen, guys are just too damn comfortable. And they too comfortable. But it's not them, it's him. He too comfortable. By the way, he didn't use that verbiage. We were saying that the whole damn year to let you know they're listening. We've been blasting that guy. Said this guy he's not doing his damn job. He even admitted to not doing in-season evaluations on his team as a general manager because he's too emotional. He said that out of his own damn mouth. I don't do in-season evaluations, whether we win or lose, because I'm too emotional. I'm emotional when we win. I'm emotional when we lose. So that's just a cop-out for him not wanting to do his job. And that's why we don't call him a real general manager. That's why you need a real person there and not this old flim-flammy guy here, But anyway, back to this, man. Back to this. There are no savings to be found by releasing players. The only player who saved significant money is Ryan Ramczyk. That should have been happened. Ryan Ramczyk is done, man. It's over with for Ryan Ramczyk, a big guy that been dealing with lower extremity injuries for the last several years. That's done, bro. He's been suffering with that injury for 2-3 years now, and it's getting progressively worse. He's supposed to have done some minor procedure on it to see if it was healing, and Dennis Allen himself said it wasn't healing. Why is he still there? It's time we already drafted Tali Fuaga. That's it for Ramczyk, man. Thank you for your service, brother, but go tend to yourself. Go get your service, go get your surgery, and just, be happy with what you got, because it's over with, but Ryan Ramczyk, who's released, saved $6 million. There are 5 other, let me read this again. There are no savings to be found by releasing players. For the family members say, Q, put the car in the street, just release them. This is a portion of what we've been saying too, is that's not how you're going to do it. And it's not very much trade value for some of these guys. So you stuck with them from a monetary standpoint. Yes, contractually speaking, you are. And that's why I've said you kind of stuck to the time frame, which is 2 years till the contracts run out. Then you get relief. That's how this is designed. There is no way out through this. There's no reverse sign. There's no reverse button. Like, look at it like a runaway train. You've seen the movies where the guy got it as a bum on there, bad guy on there, and he's trying to do something wrong, and he puts the train, he takes the throttle and throws it all the way forward, then tears it off so you can't stop it or reverse it. The bad guy, and you're on the train, and the train just going down the track, splitting pad, going down there, the runaway train, shooting down the tracks. Guy done tore the throttle off of there, threw it out the window, and the bad guys make it Loomis. Oh, yeah, you guys are in trouble now. So, I mean, it's just, that's what we're on, basically, from a monetary standpoint. All right. So the only player who's released saved significant money is Ryan Ramczyk, whose release saved just $6 million. Just $6 million. There are 5 other players who will save between $2 to $4 million if cut. You can reduce the net savings by $840,000, which is the minimum salary earned by a rookie who would replace the cut player. So basically, the Saints get stuck having to restructure the same bad roster because past decisions have really eliminated the next ramp that almost every other bad team has with its roster. Stuck on the highway, right? I would anticipate the Saints getting creative with their roster decisions. Up first is what to do with Derek Carr. Now we get to the point of the stream, or the article rather, where the biggest question is to the family members' queue. With Dennis Allen out of here, do we get the next big thing is, do we get his damn quarterback out of here? How do we get his quarterback out of here? Well, like I've been saying, it's not going to be like that. So what this article alludes to, it says Saints signed Carr to a $37.5 million per year contract back in 23, and his cap number next year is $51.5 million. The problem is the cost to cut him is $50 million. So there is nothing saved by cutting him outright. Did you catch that? Let me say it again so the family members say put Carr in the street. While I've been saying you don't make sense to do that. You got to get play action Carr involved. It's as simple as that. You got to get him into play action. You got to run the ball and get him into play action and use him to the best of your benefit, because there is no cutting him. And this is done contractually to provide that security. The Saints signed him to a $37.5 million contract in 23. His cap number next year is 51.5 mil. The problem is the cost to cut him is 50 million. So there is nothing saved by cutting him outright. The Saints also owe him 10 million in guaranteed salary. I cannot see the benefit of doubling down on Carr next year. It hasn't worked at all, and he'll likely be out of the NFL if released. Now, he'll find a job somewhere. He'll find a job as a backup quarterback. He will. They could try to bring his salary down to something like 20 million, freeing up 20 million in the process, and then however much more by converting the 20 million into a bonus. But what purpose is there for Carr to be a Saint in 2025? Well, the point of the matter is I'm not a seer or a psychic, but I do realize as a black and gold man that the biggest contract the Saints will go to fixing will be Derek Carr's contract because it booms. Let me show you something. Hold on here. Give me just a second. Let me pull up his contract for next year. Because people who aren't cap savvy be looking at it and saying, "Okay, we need to do this." It's not it. And I've been saying, man, the money means something here. It means something. Here goes Derek Carr's salary right here. This is over cap numbers, right? His base salary this year, they reworked it from last year to 1.2. They freed up a lot of money, right? This is just base salary talk. It balloons to 30 million next year. It balloons to 30 million. You see that? 30 million. And then when he turns 35, it goes 50 million. Plus he got a ton of voided years all the way until he's 38 years old. This is Mickey Loomis now. Look at all of the signing bonus money the Saints own. Look at that. 11.4, 11.4, 11.4, and 5.7. And this is after 20. This is 26, 27, and then 28. You see all that money? This is what they did. Now, let me kind of reverse here and show you this. This is 25, right? If you look at base salary, let me see if I can make it base salary here so y'all can see. This is base salary for 2025. Look, the base salary, the highest base salary coming up next year, that if you look into reworking salary, because the Saints will have to do that to get down so they can sign free agents or their own players. Check this out. The highest one of the base salary, you see Elvin there, 2.9 next year, 12.5 for Cam, $30 million for Derek Carr. Look at that. 30 million. So when you start restructuring, he'll be one of the first people that the Saints go to try to restructure again, which would then kick it into that other year. So that's like I was telling you, the way to get out of it, they can't stop doing it. Mickey Loomis has put them into a situation where it's perpetual. The only way out is the contracts have to expire at some point. So they will have to touch Derek Carr's contract next year because it's by far the biggest of all the base salaries in 20. This is 2025 numbers. Look, if you go down, there's not even anybody even close to that $30 million marker. The closest dude is 18 million by Ryan Ramczyk, actually. Ramczyk 18 million next year for a player who injured. Rams 18, Carr's 30 million, 12.5 for Cam, and everybody else is in single digits. Everybody else in 2025. So Carr's number one with 30. Ramczyk is with 18, who probably not going to ever play a game again for the Saints, and Cam is 12.5 for an aging Cam Jordan. At what age is he? What is he? How old is Cam this year? 30 something? 35. He'll be 36 next year. So you got a bump number. 35 goes up to 12 million, but then it de-escalates as he turns, well, his base salary is he reworked that as well for 2024. Then it balloons to 12.5 in his final year in 2025. So you got Cam at 12 point, third highest annual ranked contract. Carr, Ramczyk, Cam. This is game. Just giving you the game, just the numbers. We have in the cap section there. All right. Anyway, to keep it going, and trust me, there's blue. It's a blue streak. It's a silver lining in this cloud. Just be patient with me. I'm going to go through the rest of this article right here. The Saints should work Carr on a renegotiated deal, right? The Saints should work with Carr on renegotiating this contract in 2024 so they can designate him a post-June 1st release in 25. How does that work? The team would pay Carr his $10 million guarantee as a bonus in 24, increasing his 2024 cap charge by $2 million. The team has just enough space to pull this off, and in return, he would agree to a reduced salary from 30 in 2025 to 1.255 mil. This would drop Carr's 2025 salary cap figure from 51.5 million to 14.7 million. Taking into account the loss of 2 million in 2024's carryover, the team's net cap position would improve about $34.8 million. Then Carr would be designated a post-June 1st cut and count 13.5 mil against the salary cap in 25 once the release is processed. His dead money in 26 would be almost $35 million. See, it's not a easy out here in terms of that. You get what I'm saying? It's not an easy out. Again, now this is his proposal of getting rid of Derek Carr, is getting that, but his proposal has it set where the Saints get almost $35 million in relief for 2025, which is what Saints is 30. So the bulk of that money is going to come from Derek Carr's restructuring in one phase of another. But then it does put a hole in the QB position, and you have to be willing to do this, which Mickey Loomis is not going to do this. This will have to be somebody else who has a vision for the QB position. So that's what I say. If a new coach comes in here and he wants his own quarterback, this might be the promotion to do it, you see. But anyway, in his mind, this is one move the Saints have to make. The nearly $35 million in cap savings would put them in a position to be salary cap compliant without having to double and triple down on everyone else's roster. Keeping Carr to let him compete just makes the situation worse, and the team needs to have someone else, preferably a draft pick, under center next year. Then he mentions another move. He says after Carr deal is hopefully done, the team needs to begin identifying players who will potentially retire. Ryan Ramczyk will be at the top of the list. The team will renegotiate a new contract with him that takes his salary down to 1.255 and reduces his cap charge by 16.7 plus million. This will let the Saints carry him on the roster until June the 2nd, at which point they will release him from his contract. By waiting until June, the team will have dead money charge of $11 million, plus any injury benefit he's eligible for rather than the $23 million dead money charge that he would come with a March release. They will be left with $12 million in dead cap money, which is that a part of the strategy is some type of injury benefit. That will be a part of it. Cam Jordan has been an institution in New Orleans, but a $20 million cap charge for the pass rush in his mid-30s on a bad team isn't really good for the Saints and could lead Jordan to consider retirement. He has $1.5 million salary guarantee, and the Saints should be willing to top pay that out as a bonus. If he retires, the Eagles use to essentially negotiate retirement bonuses in Kelsey's contract. I will consider these similar situations. Doing this would allow the Saints to reduce his cap charge from 20 to about 8.45 and carry him into June 2nd. This would allow them to take 7.86 mil in dead money in 25 and defer about 15 plus mil in 2026. So if the team can get the Carr deal done, then they would be pretty close to being salary cap compliant following the two retirements. Hopefully they can be more cautious than what they do, knowing that they will be working with a skeleton of a roster in 25 and hoping that that draft class can lift them the way it had with the Commanders. Other moves to consider that the guy throws from over the cap. He says Demario Davis exceeded expectations the Saints should have had when they bought him into New Orleans. He has a $12.5 million cap figure, would cost $7 million to release. And blah, blah, blah. Then he has all these other things. Talk about Tyrann Mathieu and all this kind of stuff. Now, like I said, it's an interesting article. We pretty much delved and went into most of it. And this is giving you ideas. And like I said, this is a good article. I'm not going to read all of it because it's a lot to talk about. But good grief. Did that just give you like a headache as I'm going over all of these numbers? But when I spent a lot of time on that, for a reason. I spent a lot of time on that for a reason. And the reason is that the New Orleans Saints aren't, in my opinion, going to go into a rebuild. They're not going to do that because, number one, they're locked in. Mickey Loomis is not going to go in and renegotiate and do all this stuff to get players out of here. These only way you see some of these players, except for Ryan Ramczyk, I think Ryan Ramczyk will be done next year. I think the Saints will get him off the books and they'll get some money back from that. They'll restructure Derek Carr's contract, which will force money into 2026. It's just a part of the game. And his contract, as well as whatever, I think it's, who's the second one? Right. Yeah, Ramczyk. And then there's Cam's 12 plus, whatever it was. That has to be something that the Saints look at because all the rest of these contracts are in single digits. So a lot of the three double-digit contracts, the biggest one is Derek Carr. And that's where you'll get most of your relief from right there. Then the rest of them just free up. So you're probably looking at, after it's all said and done, roughly anywhere between about maybe 12 to 17 million dollars that you'll have to function in free agency next year. Anyway, it's not, that's a kind of a conservative estimation. I'm looking at anywhere between probably 11 to 15 million, to be honest with you, maybe 17 if you push it, depending on what moves you make. But that's why the accumulation of picks came with the Marshawn Lattimore trade, because the Saints understand the tightness of what's happening next year and the fact that they're still dedicated to the original timeline that was established when Dennis Allen was the head coach, that regardless or not, they can't reverse the path because of these agreements. They're locked in money-wise to fulfill in the next 2 years, and play. And the question is, can we trade some of these guys? We trade who's you can trade or try to facilitate a trade. You won't get fair value for some of these older players. Who's going to trade for a Cam Jordan and give you fair? Somebody going to give you a third round pick for Cam, fourth round? No, you're not going to get that. You basically have Cam to the rest of his career. He's a Saint for life. The same thing in terms of some of these other guys. They got a Carr's not going anywhere for the next 2 years. You have to be a bold move, or somebody that's a new general manager that's taking over the team has to then make it a point to do this or do that. When making Loomis at the top of it, he has no incentive or any inspiration to be able to upturn upset the apple cart and do something. It requires imagination and IQ, and he doesn't have any imagination, and he's too blinded with these foolish decisions and these asinine thought processes on who these coaches are. He was so poorly in his decision making about Dennis Allen, never apologized for a poor coaching hire, continues to make excuses and say injuries is the reason why he failed, which is not the truth. Injuries didn't lose you your team. Dennis Allen lost the team because he's off code. Mickey Loomis doesn't even much recognize that, because Mickey Loomis is not a good evaluator of talent. He lucked up on Sean Payton, and you can see the disparity between two, because no guy that's supposed to be a good judger of talent would have missed so poorly with Dennis Allen. You had all that time to look at Dennis Allen. You didn't know he was not going to be a good coach. He never was that guy. He never was that guy. Never, ever was that guy. Never, never. So anyway, that's why, we're where we are. So there's an inspiration, saying it all that about Rizzi, there is a expectation in terms of Mickey Loomis and all them to win as many games. That's why the tanking thing doesn't benefit the Saints. Tanking does not benefit the Saints. So that's why they're going to laugh at that and push that out of the way. They're not going to do that. They're going to still try to win as much as possible. They still, that's the only way. If you got an older team and they stink, boy, that shines very poorly. But if they're competitive, if they climb back up into, all you can ask for them right now is just to get back to 500. We 3-7 right now? You gotta as a team, you gotta win one game at a time. The focus has got to win one game at a time and get back to 500. Then we'll kind of look forward after that. If we could, that's a process within itself. It's a big freaking process within itself. You know what I mean? What's up, B Frank? Shout out to you. Tireless Grinds. Shout out to y'all on the gram. But yeah, man, that's what it basically comes down to, right? That's what the hell it comes down to. The New Orleans Saints got to do they got to do their due diligence there. And that's why we locked in. That's why I had to kind of bring that article to you and read pretty much a lot of it. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat. We got 160 plus people voted on the poll who wins Sunday. 77% says the Saints, 23% says the Browns. Thank y'all for chiming in on the chat. So that's a good number. That's a good discrepancy. A lot of the family members believe the Saints will win that game. So if y'all got questions, throw them in the chat. Let's see what y'all think. And Jack says, Q, basically what you're saying is we're stuck with yes, you're right. Yes. Q, basically what you're saying is we stuck with the same stupid roster next year and years after with a few failed draft picks sprinkled in. Awesome. You're absolutely right there.
He ain't lying.
Because the bottom line is that's what the timeline is. That's nothing new. We've been saying that though. But the thing is, can it work? The question is, can it work? Can it work? Well, you had a possum there. I guess he couldn't speak human, but the thing was, with a leader there to motivate the guys, could it work? Could it work? Now we know Rizzi's let's just get it straight. Rizzi's greatest attribute is that he's overly passionate and a motivator and a good communicator. Rizzi's not known to be a strategist. That's just not his game. That's not who he is. So, but he's a guy that is high on accountability. He does know what's wrong with the Saints. And his thought process is if we motivate these guys and play with energy and intelligence, who knows what can happen? We, win a few games here or there, but he's also going to need the help of the GM or whatever you want to call the guy to be able to still go and get talent to bring on the team. Like the Saints should have been using the last couple of games or days rather to be able to go and find wide receiver help. They need more wide receiver help here. And also guys, they need to get down the field to balance the offense. You need that. You need to have to get that play action because the Falcons showed the NFL how to beat the Saints. They loaded up there, stopped them from running, and the Saints could even pass the ball. Well, Derek Carr did throw the ball down the field. Alvin Kamara dropped the son of a bitch. So we got to take advantage of those type of situations, man. When they do happen, we got to be able to do it. All right. So anyway, Infinity says, I fault Mickey for Carr's astronomical contract only because he was buddy with Dennis Allen. No one wanted Carr. But Loomis is unfreaking believable. I think at the time, like could somebody make Carr, like if you had a John Gruden type coach, which is basically like Sean Payton. If John Gruden, let's say the Saints, instead of hiring Dennis Allen, the Saints hired John Gruden, right, to be the coach. Just, walk with me on this example. Do you really think the Saints would have been under a 7-game losing streak with John Gruden? The hell to the no. He would have never went for that. He would have been cussing people out. He would have been changing coaches. He would have been firing guys. No. And plus, John Gruden knows just how to use Derek Carr in the offense. He knows to give him a running attack, give him a good tight end, give him a guy, a wide receiver that can stretch the field, and then give them access to the play action, and you can win with that. That's what you're seeing in weeks 1, weeks 2. That's what you're seeing in part of the game last week in the second quarter. Saints started running. They benefited from running the ball with AK-41, Taysom Hill, Jordan Mims, and then they got into the play action game where they would attack the Falcons downfield. That's play action Carr. You have to be able to get him into play action mode, and he'll tear your ass up. That's all it is to it. And another part of the game with Derek Carr is, speeding him up. Clint Kubiak has to get back to the business of speeding his concept time up. Also Derek Carr has to be smarter about when he gets outside of the pocket. He doesn't see anything. You don't have to force the ball. When you see some green, take it. As you can see, he had a couple of runs last week. Well, Derek Carr showed he has some good wheels. He can move. He ain't Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray or Pat Mahomes boys and them type of dudes, you know what I'm saying? But he has a pair of wheels where he can go and sneak you for 4 or 5 yards. He can do that. That's something that, that he needs to concentrate too. Like if you don't see something and you got a chance to scramble for 4 or 5 and slide, go take that. Go get that. That's something else as well. Head Trauma says, Q, they can't develop younger players because they're overpaying the vets, which justify playing them. A hell of a way to destroy your team. They can't develop younger players. Well, listen, bro, in terms of the draft picks, you have a point, but by Head Trauma, how do you explain how they are developing the undrafted guys? Make it make sense. You see what I'm saying? One, because they're getting trained by the same guy. How are the undrafted guys making a team and excelling? They're developing them, but you telling me they can't develop the drafted guys? Is it a different staff? No, it's not. It's all about heart. You got to pick the right players. The undrafted guys come here, and those undrafted guys do whatever it takes to win. Like you see Rico Payton, who made a name for himself and earned him a roster spot. Rico Payton was tearing it up in preseason. Jordan Mims was another undrafted guy, tearing it up, won a job. Mason Tipton was a guy that was tearing it up. He don't look so good now because, he's just rookie bumps and bruises. He was doing this thing. Hell, Jawan Johnson was an undrafted guy. He's just starting tight end now, So, I mean, we've had guys that came here. Let's not think like the Saints just can't do shit. They've been surviving off the undrafted guys. Look around your team. Several undrafted guys have been developed and have earned contracts that have put them on par. Jawan Johnson, undrafted. JT Gray, undrafted Pro Bowler. Rashid Shaheed, undrafted Pro Bowler. Who else we got? Name them. Carl Granderson, undrafted. He's your starting defensive end, got a big contract. Outplayed the drafted guys. See, it's about who they're drafting. Like the undrafted guys come here, they play with a heart. They have nothing to lose and they lay it out, and that's how they make these jobs. That's how they get this work. So if you got undrafted guys that know that, man, listen, we're going to do what we got to do. We're going to learn. We're going to study harder. We're going to do it. That's the difference, in my opinion. Like what's the difference between the drafted guy and the undrafted guy? The only difference I see between the two is one dude is all about the business of making it shake and bake, and the other dude ain't. That goes to heart, which means you're going to have to look at these guys a lot more closer and check out their heart and their intelligence and their work ethic. You got to investigate that more. You know what I'm saying? All right. If Mickey Loomis doesn't consider a rebuild, restructure, or getting under the cap, that's pure suicide. Not at this point. They can't. He refuses to look at it simply because it doesn't benefit them too. Right? It doesn't benefit them too, bro. Just to keep it all the way funky with you, it doesn't benefit them to do that. It just doesn't. So at the end of the day, when you're, what I mean by it doesn't benefit Mickey Loomis to consider that, because he already knows they're locked in. That's why I covered this article, and I went I don't know how long it was, 20 minutes on that article, spent a lot because I wanted the family members to understand what's going on here. Why isn't he not considering a rebuild, and that they're going to hold on? Because contractually speaking, you can't cut these guys because you won't get any money for cutting them. And like I keep telling the family members, is that you need money to rebuild. Just having draft picks is not enough. To rebuild with anything, you have to be able to have money to fund a rebuild. And the Saints don't have that. Once they rework these contracts in 2025, they're probably going to have anywhere between $11 to $17 million in free money. What you going to do with that? What you going to do with that? Besides sign a couple of cheap veterans, and you can do the Mickey method, which is sign Chase Young on a cheap deal, a 3-year deal of whatever the case may be, with $1 million on the initial offer, and then the second year is backloaded. And you sign him, and that's why I was thinking a big indication that they were going to re-sign Chase Young as we about to get ready to get here. Y'all hang with me. They're about to fire this up, and we'll hear from Rizzi momentarily. But the reason why they don't want to rework that stuff is obvious, man. It's the fact that we do understand that the Saints, the time frame is locked in. You're not going to get a lot of money in the reworking of cutting players, and the restructures will free up just enough money for you to play next year. So you're going to have to rely on draft picks and undrafted guys and securing guys like Chase Young, who I ain't gonna say they should have, but if they wanted to trade him, they could have traded him the same time they traded Lattimore, which was an indication that the Saints more than likely going to work out a contract extension for Chase Young, because they chose poorly on drafting a defensive end. So Chase Young is more than likely going to get a contract from the Saints, All right, shout out to you. What's up, Super Saints fans? Shout out to you, man. You said you're right, Cooper. I think Gail might pull something else off. We'll see, brother. I think she'll bring some other people in the organization, but I don't think it'll get to, the point where it'll be, they'll just fresh people into the building. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think Mickey Loomis, it'll deviate the path from where they're going, because the money's locked in. Even if they fired Mickey Loomis and got him the hell out of there, just say that. In the Marvel universe, to the DC universe, there's a reality where Gail fired Mickey Loomis, right? yes, even if you fire Mickey Loomis, you're still stuck with his mess. That's what I was saying about, did I not say that about Dennis Allen? Firing Dennis Allen is not the end. Firing him is only the beginning of the healing process. It's not the end of it, because it would be no Dennis Allen if it wasn't for Mickey Loomis. And even if you fired Mickey Loomis, there is still the ramifications of his decision making that have impacted the Saints for the last several years, meaning a salary cap situation. A general manager that would come in here would have to be stuck with the decisions that Mickey made over the last 2 years. There was no other way to deal with it, because the assets that you have, contractually speaking, nobody's going to give you fair trade value for those guys. So the best thing you can do is rework it until the contracts expire in 2026. And then you'll see an increase of over $100 million, $200 million, because you'll have basically a brand new team. That's what's going on. What's up, Desi? Shout out to you, Queen. Good to see you. All right, big ups to the fam, man. Like we said, they got this going on. What's up, Jack? Jack says they drafted guys just aren't the talent from. He says, what's this? Hackensack State. Okay, Hackensack. Okay, I never heard of them. Okay, Rose says, Q. Why? He says, with Amari Cooper being gone, and I'm familiar with Chubb, what are offensive weapons they got? Well, they got the David Njoku, the big tight end. He's physical. Jerome Ford, the backup running back, is a pretty decent guy you deal with. Jerry Jeudy is also good if you know how to use him. And they got a few sneaky players on offensive you got to watch out for, because it's the way Jameis is as a quarterback. Jameis gives all of those guys opportunities, and you got to watch out for that. And also remember that the Saints secondary is banged up. We might be getting Kool-Aid McKinstry back. We'll see what's going on with the Kool-Aid McKinstry thing, getting him back there. Alante, really mixed bag on how Alante Taylor played in the Atlanta game. He had an increased role to CB1. How did he look? Had a lot of stuff going on there. Was a bit of a rough transition. That was another question I wanted to ask the family members about. How did y'all grade out Alante Taylor on a scale at A through D? What was your grade on Alante Taylor at CB1? Then you got Kool-Aid coming back from hamstring issues. Rico Payton had a groin issue, I want to say. So the Saints are banged up from the cornerback standpoint in the secondary. So knowing that, they're going to get tested. And remember, the Saints haven't been good in getting pressure on quarterbacks. So they give them opportunities to stand in there and throw, and that's a recipe for disaster. So there's always a problem when your defensive ends can't get home in recession and repetition to affect the signal caller. So, we'll have some issues right there. All right, so we'll see. All right, thank you, brother, for the question. Saints fan says, right, he says, like a Saints statistician, always giving us the Who That Nation a deeper dive. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Shout out to you. Brother Tyrell says Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore are deep threats too, indeed. And remember, they're threats to our secondary because Jameis can throw that thing, man. And also, fam, don't forget that Jameis Winston was here for 4 years. He knows the Saints defense. We didn't change a lot. All we did was move Dennis Allen out of the way. Joe Woods take over the play calling, but it won't be radically that different. You get what I'm saying? And Jameis understands that. So that is another caveat that we cannot overlook, is the fact that Jameis Winston has familiarity with playing against your team. That's a big part of it as well. Yeah, look at that. Cartel says a B-. Thank you, bro. Kendall says Alante A, little handsy. Exactly. He was a little nervous there. King Chosen One says a D+. Yeah, Jack says Alante seems more like a safety than a cornerback. Yeah, well, the Saints brought him in there with that propensity to do that, but you know where the money is. The money's at the cornerback level. So it's very interesting, man, to see how it goes, man. But yeah, but it's the silver lining in this.
Take a quick swig here, guys. Excuse me 1 second. All right.
Riz, when were you guys able to effectively come up with the explosive plays?
Why did we have explosive plays? Yeah, I mean, one of the things we were concerned about, obviously, when you lose Olave and we lose Shaheed, and some of those guys, is the speed element. And, we felt like we could get some of that from MVS, from Scantling. And it was a big emphasis last week on a couple of those big plays. And listen, at the bottom line with those is execution, right? Got to have great route, got to have great ball, and then even the first play of the game, we thought, even though it was a short pass to Taysom, we thought like there's a couple of those plays underneath that we thought could end up in explosive plays too. Now, unfortunately, that one got called back, but there's going to be those opportunities in the game that we're trying to take advantage of, and there's 2 or 3 that come to mind that were big ones. So, but I really just a great job with the execution.
Was increasingly the play action usage part of that? I think that was like your highest usage since the first 2 weeks.
In terms of just overall play action? Yeah, it's an emphasis. I think, listen, we went into the game, wanting to obviously control the line of scrimmage on both sides. And we felt like if we could run the ball early and open up some of that, that was a big part of it. So, you guys know it's a big deal when you can effectively run the ball. It really essentially opens up anybody that does it, can open up the rest of the offense. So to get, AK going early, had some real good effective runs. Sometimes those 7-8 yard runs, I think the general fan might not realize how effective and important they are early in the game. Stay ahead of the change, and then it opens up the rest of the playbook for the play action stuff. So it was a big deal. And so, certainly was a emphasis.
How do you assess the job that Joe Williams did in his first week with new responsibilities?
Yeah, listen, I thought we came out as a team, not just the defense. I thought as a team we came out, started really well. I think, if you ask Joe, he's gonna tell you that he probably wanted to finish the game a little better, but we wanted to finish the game better as a team. And so overall, I thought our defense did a really good job of presenting the game plan. The players knew the plan going in. We did not have a lot of, I went through that this morning with the guys. We didn't have a lot of missed assignments or mental mistakes or misalignments or anything like that. We had to execute a little bit better. Obviously we want to do a better job of stopping the run. We let up a couple of explosives there. It was a little bit hot and cold. There was some really good run defense at times, just not consistent enough. But listen, I thought Joe and the whole staff, with midstream, mid-season like this, when you get a wholesale change like that, that's not easy. And so we changed a lot of people's responsibilities. And so, Joe hadn't called the game in a while. And so I thought we did some really good things. You guys had mentioned the other day about changing some things up on third down, some of our fronts, things like that. And so, BY as well. BY got kind of thrown in there with taking over the D-line room and just but everybody was, I thought, effective. Now, are there plenty of stuff we can get better? Absolutely. We got to cut down the explosive plays that we gave up, and we got to do a better job of stopping the run, and we got to finish better. But we made a couple of huge plays on defense that essentially ended up winning the game for us.
You last week, obviously, with the emotions and the change, and the players talked about the energy and the things you did. Do you feel like you have to do that every week, or is that just kind of everybody will kind of settle in now that they know you're in charge, this is what it is? I just feel like there's that bump that kind of the change brings, and you don't want to maybe lose that momentum.
Yeah, well, listen, in my opinion, I think there's a formula that we went with last week, and we want to duplicate that same formula. Now, that part of that formula is energy, passion, all that. And so I think I was the same guy today on the practice field that I was every day all last week, and so that's not going to change. And so, listen, I mentioned this to you guys. I mentioned it to the players. I think, one of the challenges is it's a little bit easier to buy in that first wave, if you will. But I think that now the players know the expectation, they know the tempo, they know how kind of we're doing things, and the changes. I think actually today went a little bit smoother than last Wednesday. Last Wednesday was a little bit choppy, in my opinion, because it was brand new. I thought we practiced a little bit better today. Last week there was a lot of nuances that maybe we hadn't worked through before and things like that. So I'm hoping that we keep that energy level the same. That's the intent, and I hope that we can just be a little bit more effective. And so listen, there were some great things last week, but I also think there's a lot of room for improvement. We certainly didn't play by no means we play a perfect game, and so there's plenty of stuff to work on. But that tempo and the daily grind and that's there's still no substitute for that. So we're going to try to keep manufacturing the same thing week after week. I'm sorry?
Jameis' last couple starts. What stood out about that? Jameis' last couple starts.
What about, you're asking me, was my opinion on starts? Well, listen, I mean, obviously he gave them a huge boost in that Baltimore game. I think the difference probably from the Baltimore game to the Chargers game for Jameis himself was the turnovers, but listen, he's got the big playability. He's got an unbelievable leadership quality. It's just a natural. He's a natural leader, and so when you kind of infuse that, he did the same thing when he was here. He's an easy guy to follow because he's, we talk about energy. There's a guy, his energy is unmatched at times, and so he's always kind of the same guy every day. It's kind of what we were just talking about, and so he kind of sparked them in that Baltimore game. I thought for him, I think he'd probably tell you the same thing. They turned the ball over a little bit in the LA game, which hurt them a little bit. But listen, Jameis has always been a big play guy, and that's his whole career from way back when he was at Florida State, when he was at Tampa, when he was here, there. He's always capable of making those huge plays. I mean, you guys saw him when he was here. He came in for us at times and sparked us, and whether it was mid-game or mid-season or whatever it was. So he provides that. So that's going to be a challenge for us.
Able to be full today, and how did Kool-Aid hold up?
Yeah, both those guys. Kool-Aid was limited today. Eric, we didn't give him the full, the whole thing yet, but he's kind of have a process with him, and we've been working him back in, and he's both those guys are trending in the right direction. So hopefully no setbacks for those guys as the week goes on. I would tell you that Eric's probably ahead of Kool-Aid at the moment, but we'll, hopefully as this week progresses, we get both those guys back by the end of the week full go. So we could certainly use both of them.
Eric's, you said last week that he was one of the biggest losses of the year. Could you just kind of expand on that more? Why do you feel like that?
Yeah, no problem. First of all, Eric's a phenomenal player. This guy, maybe one of the more underrated offensive linemen in the league, in my opinion, overall, not just center. I think he's you look at his consistency and the high level that he's played at when he's in there, it's a big deal. Number two is his leadership. And so he's a kind of a leader by example. He's not this big vocal guy, but man, I got a lot of respect for Eric because he shows up every day. You know exactly what you're going to get. He's kind of the Pied Piper of that group, if you will. They kind of travel in packs. If you ever you watch that O-line kind of travel around the building, and he's kind of the, he's a leader of the group. And so, when you take anybody out of the middle of your offense like that, not only that, at the level that he was playing at, it's a really big deal. And so, really hard to replace that. There's a drop off there, and that's no knock on the guys that came in for him, because the guys that came in for him have really competed their butts off. But he's just a really, I just think he's a phenomenal player and leader. And anytime you lose a guy like that for a number of games, it's a big deal. And so that's why it was such a big loss for us. So hopefully we get him back this week and can infuse him back with that whole group.
Yeah, I know it's hard to quantify the amount of wins or losses, but do you think that if he was healthy, that the losing streak wouldn't have been what it was?
Well, listen, no one really can. I agree with you. No one can really predict that. But did it affect our offense? Yeah, absolutely, 100% affected the offense, affected the offensive line, because again, there's a guy. Most people may not realize your center's making a lot of calls along with the quarterback. All those kinds of things, setting the protections, making calls, and so again, his experience, his leadership, and his play, his effective play. You take all those things out, and out of the middle of your offense. So, I don't want to say you can't sit here and put a tangible number on it, but did it affect us overall as an offense and a team? Yes, sure.
Knowing what he presents on more of a personal level, what do you believe that prep will be like? For
Jameis? Listen, Jameis is going to be fired up no matter what. He's going to be even more fired up to come back here and play against us for sure. I mean, a lot of those, he's friends with a lot of those guys in the locker room. He developed so many relationships within this building, with the players, with the staff. And so, this will be a semi-homecoming for him. And so anytime, you get to do that, certainly he's going to, and also listen, he got obviously infused into their, being their starting quarterback at the midway point of the season. He's trying to get them rolling too. So it's kind of twofold. And so again, we know what kind of player Jameis is. I know he's going to be fired up because he always is fired up, and he'll be a little bit more fired up to play in the Superdome. So it'll be great to see him, and it'll certainly be a challenge to play against him.
How would you assess the defensive back play last week? It seemed like a game where there were several instances where guys were in perfect position, maybe not making a play on the ball. So how do you balance kind of that where it feels like the coverage was good, but the play wasn't necessarily made?
Yeah, well, the one thing that jumped out to me, I might have mentioned this earlier, is I really thought guys that had to step in like Shamar and like Ugo, man, they competed their butts off. They really did. That jumped off the film to me, was their high level of play. Now, they were in position a few times, and listen, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the opponent. I thought Kirk Cousins made about 4 or 5 phenomenal throws into really tight coverage from the pocket as he was getting hit. So sometimes you just got to say, man, great play for them. And so we had some guys well covered that he painted the ball in there. But listen, those guys also made some huge plays for us. So I would tell you that I really like the way they compete. We got to limit our penalties a little bit for sure in the secondary. I think we all know that. We got to continue to compete at that high level. And listen, most of those 50-50 balls, they came down with some of those last week. Those things will level out. So we just got to make sure we don't get frustrated with the process and maybe just finish a little better. That's kind of the focus for everybody right now, is to finish.
Shamar specifically, what is it about him that made you go that route?
Well, listen, I thought Shamar, since he came back, has really. Here's another guy that's really professional. He goes out there every day, prepares. One of the first guys out there before practice, getting himself ready. He's in here watching film, preparing. I mean, here's a guy that I just thought he handled everything really, really, really well. In the last few weeks, and then he goes out there the last couple of weeks, and I thought he's played solid football. So, like you said, there was a couple of those plays where, man, if a couple of those balls end up on the ground, we're probably, we're talking about a guy that had an unbelievable game. They just happened to complete a couple of those 50-50 balls. So we're just looking to finish better. But hats off to Shamar. I thought he played his butt off.
Those tests for Pete Warner turn out, we saw him with like a brace or something on it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out, obviously he's dealing with that hand thing right now. So we're trying to figure out what his, we kept him out today. But everything's still on the table right now, including tomorrow and this weekend and all that. So, sometimes with those hand stuff, you got to figure out the best scenario for, there's all kinds of different things with how Willie Gay was dealing with the same type of deal. So we'll kind of see how that goes. So that's going to be more of a day-to-day thing to see if we can get him ready for the weekend. So I know mentally he certainly wants to play. So physically, if he can, he will.
What's kind of been your assessment with Trevor Penning? He's a guy obviously under like a big microscope in the lead up to this season, and maybe not right now. Maybe says that he's playing okay.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to say this. I know Trevor was a guy that really had, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, a target on his back starting to be in the offseason, maybe all the way through the preseason and all that. This guy's gotten better every week. So you look through the 10-game schedule. I'm not sure. I mean, I am actually sure. I'm going to tell you, he probably played his best football game this past Sunday. And so I think it's kudos to Trevor. I think it's kudos to John Benton, to Jari, to Rico, to Clint, all those guys. They have helped this player progress. And listen, is it the finished product yet? No. But is this guy so much further along than he was in preseason week 1? Yes, this guy's really grown and developed. I see a guy that's working his tail off to do it. See a guy putting the time in. See a guy working on the technique. I see the coaches working with him, and it shows up on the film. Now, are there certainly, like everybody else, are there certain things that he needs to get better at? Yeah, we got to cut down on some of the penalties, and some of the the stuff that are self-inflicted stuff. But physically, I've seen a guy really improve, and so he's got to continue that improvement. That can't level off. But there's a high ceiling. I still believe there's a high ceiling for the player, and like I said, I think it's really a credit to all those guys I just mentioned. That guy continues to grow every week, and like I said, I think if you ask the offensive line coaches and those guys, they'll tell you he probably played his best game of the year. So maybe the best game of his career this past Sunday.
I know last Wednesday when we talked to you, you said 2 days felt like 2 weeks after what happened on Monday. Are you settling in where you kind of have a better perspective of this job and what to do? I know you said practice was easier. Is it easier a weekend for you now?
Yeah, I think once you get through the week of this, full week, and you do the repeat. We did a repeat. Finally, today was the first day of the repeat. So this is the first day that actually everybody knew what the heck was going to go on, because I tried to give them something different every day, of the week last week. And so when we came back in today, I think everybody kind of knew the expectation with the daily schedule and all that was going to be. So did it go a little bit smoother? It did. Yeah, it helps me settle in too, because we made so many changes last week that I was a little bit hair on fire, if you will, and just trying to get all that stuff done. So everybody settled in, and like I said, we got to, like I told the team, our focus this week is to keep the focus on the preparation, not all the other stuff. And all that other stuff's behind us. We got to keep our locked in on being 1-0 again this Sunday. But no doubt about it, it's certainly after going through it for a week, and now we're going to kind of continue to do what we're doing, like I mentioned before with the formula. It certainly makes it easy for everybody, including me. All right, guys, appreciate it.
All right, shout out to Coach Rizzi. All right. Oh, Rizzi doing this thing, man. There you go, keeping it all the way funky with the black and gold there, man. He's taking a ownership role and embracing it. Here's Derek Carr. Mr. Carr is on the mic. Let's see what he got to say.
Good question. We just, we connected and made the plays down the field. They, I think with Rashid and with Chris out, maybe they played a little bit tighter in some situations. So we were able to take advantage of that down the field. There's been teams that have just, whether it's single high, too high, doesn't matter. Like corners are playing on top, just forcing you to throw everything underneath. But this game was not the case. They were kind of underneath, and safeties were low on some things, trying to cut crossers and things like that. So, every game is different, and every team, plays things, no matter what they show on film, they can play things differently during the game. And so our guys did a great job of just adjusting to the cut safeties and being able to connect on those. I thought, MVS making those plays down the field for us really just opened things up, and, he sparked us for sure.
Hey, Derek, it's been a year with James. What was he like as a teammate, and what do you think this game is going to be?
He's one of the greatest teammates I've ever had in my life. I love Jameis. I texted him the week, when he hit, the game winner and all that. I said, man, couldn't happen to a better person. He's amazing teammate, amazing friend. He was to me, in our time here. And I always root for him. He's a guy that you just always root for, and very happy, for him. You never want someone to get hurt, to have that opportunity happen, but I'm happy for him to have an opportunity. Obviously, you feel bad for Deshaun and, for anyone who has to have, that long of an injury and things like that. But definitely happy for Jameis, because he deserves it. He works so hard. And he's really, really talented. He's a really good player. So happy for him, and, to see where that, leads for him. But, I know he'll be excited to play, to come back and play here, just like I would be to play the Raiders. It's exciting. It's your old team. You got friends on the team. That's fun, and so he'll be excited. But knowing Jameis, he's not going to treat it any different than any other game. I'm sorry?
What would get McCoy back into this offense, Eric?
Well, oh man, just his leadership, his ability to communicate when things aren't as scouted, his recall, just on, his experience, just being able to make sure he knows, oh, that's not a good call, make this call. He can fix problems on the fly. Things that no one will ever see, no one will ever know. Just handling the unscouted looks, handling those things, and then winning his matchups. The ability to get to the second level, third level, and make blocks. Like I said, you don't ever, when someone gets hurt, you don't just replace that person, because they bring a certain way about them and skill set to be that guy. But guys stepped in and played really good football for us. But anytime you get somebody back, you're excited for what they're able to bring as well.
Is it hard to just qualify the center's importance to the offense? I mean, like a lot of guys, you can see like a tackle and be like, oh well, yeah, big pass rusher or whatever. But like a center is responsible for so much stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I would think it would never be something like, if you have a fantasy team, you would never understand why he's important. Like you would never understand. Unless you're playing Madden, you need someone with a good rating, I guess, that you need him. But just to the naked eye, if you're just watching the game, you would never, unless he gets just run over, no one ever talks about the center, but what he is able to do for us, and some of the blocks we ask him to get to and reach. And I've only been around a couple guys that can do some things that he can do. And, him, Rodney Hudson's one of them. again, I'll stop naming people if someone gets upset, but just the things he's able to do and the way he's able to communicate. And like I said, the unscouted looks, the stuff that you don't practice, that someone throws a wrench at you, he feels the pressure coming. We didn't talk about that, but he fixes it, and really then our time on task together, just the repetitions, the blitzes, us watching it together, the blitz meeting, we sit next to each other, watching it, communicate and see it the same way. Those reps that we've, put in the bank, those things, those are like gold, because then it comes up in a game and you do it. And so, like I said before, I thought our guys handled that stuff really well. But, for a quarterback, it's nice when he's there, because, you know exactly what you're getting, exactly, that he knows the calls to make and all those things to put everyone else on the same page to do their job.
Y'all ran more play action this past week than you have really since weeks 1 or 2, I think. Why was that such a heavy part of y'all's game plan? What made it work this past week?
Yeah, that's a good question. It'd probably be a better question for Clint. But for me, some of those games, you look at, how, it's hard for me to remember off the top of my head those past games, but, how were those games flowing? How was the run game going? How was our play actions off the runs we were running? If the runs we were running weren't the best, then those play actions probably won't mean anything to the safeties, different, so many variables in just whatever game. And so, I just thought, I thought I can speak for this last game. We ran the ball efficiently on some runs, and then the play actions looked very similar. And that's what works. And so, for us, when you hit one, it kind of gives you confidence for the next one, and so it's on us as players when Clint calls them, let's hit them. And if the big play is not there, let's make a good decision and keep the ball moving so he still has confidence to call the next one, and so it goes both ways, schematically, does it look good based on what we're seeing? And then also, are we as players executing, the run plays so the play action looks good?
A better way of asking that is if it was like a point of emphasis this past week. I mean, you guys did it on the first play of the game, Taysom.
Yeah.
A couple other ones on the first drive, I think.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I would say like our meetings didn't feel different, just the way we install things. So I think it was just the flow of things. And obviously, we started off with one, which I told Taysom if he scored on the first play, I'd give him $1,000, but he didn't score. So
it's only his fault.
I didn't. I told him, I was like, it didn't count, so it can't. I bought him dinner, but he wouldn't let me pay for it. So.
For you coming back from injury, this is going to be your 3rd week back.
Yeah.
You dealt with a lot of different people around you when you came back, and coaching changed.
Yeah.
Where are you? How settled back in are you? Kind of what's the focus going into this week?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm back in a rhythm. Definitely, the first half of the first game felt weird, felt rusty, which is crazy because I was around the game. I'm in the meetings, I'm seeing the plays, all this talking about it with the guys, and that does not ever do justice for playing, standing in that position in that pocket and playing. And so, still correcting things, but I definitely feel more in a rhythm now, like back in it. And so, one thing about professional football, it just keeps moving. No matter what changes, no matter what happens, it's going to keep going on until we're all out of here. The game just continues to go. And, you just have to make sure that, whenever you're not in it, you do your best that you can to stay as ready or as game-like as you can, because it's a tough thing to adjust to. But I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, mentally and physically, for sure.
Last week, everybody talked about the energy. Have you seen that carry over to this week?
The what? I'm sorry.
The energy.
Yeah.
For Rizzi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was one of the challenges that we emphasize as players, and Riz emphasized to us is, can we do it again? Can you bring that same joy? Can you bring that same excitement and same locked in nature to your craft? And so just having that laser-like focus, making sure we're eliminating any distractions that we can. We're not in a place to even think about distractions. We have a lot of work to do. So, we got to continue to work, and hopefully we can bring that. It felt good today, for sure, especially when Eric comes jogging out on the field. That's always exciting. You get someone back on the field. The guys are happy about those kind of things. And so that brings some energy. But yeah, I thought the guys have done a good job. And I mean, it's just one day. I mean, we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday to, continue to do that this week too. Oh man, they play very fast, D-line, penetrating defensive line. They want to get up the field. They want to get to the quarterback, stop the run, create negative plays. They want to create negative linebackers and safeties, good tacklers, corners, really good players. This is a really good defense that we're about to play, and so our work is cut out for us for sure. Playing these guys, but the line movement that they do in the run game, the way they play their linebackers, the way they play their safeties, they do a lot of different really cool things, making things look the exact same, but it's different. Coach Gruden always taught me that one. When they defenses try and make things look the exact same, then at the snap it's different. And so they do a really good job of that. But they're an impressive group to watch. You watch them; they run to the football, they fly around, they hit, they're hunting the football, and they're uberly talented, across the board. They got guys that have played a lot of football and a lot of football at a high level. And so we definitely have our work cut out for us, but when you watch the film, they jump out at you that they're a really good unit. So we got to be on our stuff. You got to be ready for anything, everything. And then, 95 is one of the best players in the world. I've played against him a few times, and I just have the utmost respect for him. Whenever you get to play against a player like that, him and, they have multiple, but, he, up front, he runs the show, and, you watch him play, and you admire it, you honor it, you respect it. And then you get excited about competing against him, because a guy like that, he'll be a Hall of Famer. Those are the matchups, you look forward to going against, because someday your kids will be like, man, you played against him. And yes, those will be cool things.
A lot of players of the last week have just talked about how they all feel like they have a personal relationship with Darren Rizzi. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of your experience in getting to know him over the last few years? And if so, how has he gone about cultivating relationships with everyone when he might not necessarily work with them?
Yeah. He does a good job. We always say it blows my mind that special teams coaches aren't more head coaches. You let your offense and defensive guys do their thing, but they always have a great command of the room. They always have great relationships with all the players because they're always in front of the team. They're always talking to more guys than they're not talking to. And so Riz, just our relationship with me is, during a special teams period or whatever, when the defense was going, just little interactions we'd have one-on-one, or, I'd bring something to him. Hey, I think this would be a good idea. Do you think, do you like that? And just things that we would, I'd bounce ideas off of him all the time. And he's been great to me. We've had a great relationship, and that's why, whenever all that happened, there was no doubt in my mind who it was going to be. I knew it was going to be Riz, because he has great commanding confidence about himself. And so with that, everyone just has a good relationship with him. Like I said, he texts, he's texting the players, he texts me, he's texting other guys about certain things all throughout the week. And, he's very, I'll say it this way. He does you always hear that term players coach. He's definitely a players coach, but at the same time, he's not so lax that he's not going to crush you on the details. He is going to demand from you. And he has that's a fine line to walk on, but he does it really well.
How did you two interact during the game? I guess how did that go in regards to him preaching accountability and attention to detail and things like that?
Yeah, he was great. And most of the time, my experience as head coach is just let the quarterback be on game day. Gruden would give me a look every now and then, and things like that. But his communication, he had just come over, hey, great job, keep it going. If he had something, he'd just tell me real quick, hey, cool. Situationally, obviously, what I kind of knew what DA's philosophies were in certain situations, but hey, are we going for this? If it's 3rd and 12, am I trying to get the whole thing, or am I okay to check one down because we're going to go for it on 4th and 2? That, all that stuff matters, in your decision making. So just learning his philosophies and things like that. But he was great at communicating those things.
Just it seems like you've had upheaval at different times at every position group, but with Chris and Sheet out, how are you trying to, would you say you're trying to kind of bridge the experience and a chemistry gap with all the young guys in the receiver corps that are having to do stuff now?
Yeah, I just, it starts with my relationship with Coach Dub. I've known him since I was a teenager, and he knows me probably better than anybody in this building. And my trust in him and what he's telling those guys and the mindset and the way that they're going to play allows me to have the confidence to tell these guys, hey, they might not have the most experience, but hey, I'm going to rip this thing across the middle. You need to be there, and I have trust that he's going to have them there, and they're putting the work in to be there, and they're proving it. And so, I told Dub, I promised him at the beginning of the year, I said, I'm just going to keep throwing that thing no matter what. I didn't know all these injuries were going to happen and, things like that. But, last week, we get MVS on the first one, we get him on the second one, then he has the second touchdown. And I looked at Dub, I said, I told you. And he started laughing. I was like, whoever you put out there, I was like, we're not in a position to be careful. Like, we have to just keep playing. We have to do our best to win these football games. And, maybe it's not the ideal matchup right now. Maybe it's not this or that, but what an opportunity for these guys to make it the ideal matchup. And so my confidence in those guys is sky high, and I'm going to keep giving them opportunities, to make plays for us and our football team. Because I believe that, when we're aggressive and we can do those things, it gives us our best chance to win.
Play action car, man. Play action car.
Some veteran players have actually come up and asked, hey, we should give this guy a chance. What is it about Kevin that kind of has endeared himself in that way?
He since day one, his work ethic's been unbelievable. Like, he literally, we probably all know somebody like this where they just come in every day, they're quiet, but that all of their work is going to get done at a high level, at a high effort, and no one's going to praise them. No one's even you're just thankful that they're there, and, you sit back and you look, you're like, man, that guy deserves an opportunity, or that individual deserves an opportunity, and you look at Kevin, and I've loved him since the training camp, all off season. I just, we ran a crazy 2-minute drill, and I remember I had to throw like this 40-yard, on the sideline. And as I'm throwing it, I'm like, oh, that's not Chris, and Kevin goes up and makes the play and toe taps, and we end up winning the drill and things like that. And I just remember from that moment, I was like, man, I trust this guy. And then in the preseason, he was a guy that was, even if he didn't get the ball, you watch him run his routes. You're like, wow, it's impressive. Some of the things he's doing, seeing coverage. And so he's a guy that he's young, he's raw, but I think that he can grow. When you look at him, he looks like an NFL receiver, and he works like one too. So I'm excited to see his growth and where he can go, because he's definitely put the work in. I'll say it that way.
There was a big microscope on Trevor Penning coming into the year. Yeah. A lot of questions about him. How have you seen him handle that, navigate that into the season?
Well, the hard thing is with injuries, you sit back and you see, what year is he in, but really how much practice has he had? How many games has he had? He didn't really have a lot of experience. And so I've just been really proud of his work ethic. I think he's having a lot of fun with this group of O-linemen. I think he's having a lot of fun with these coaches. They very demanding of him, just like they are all of us. But I think he believes in them. I can see that in him. I see a bounce in his step. I see a smile on his face, not on the football field, but, in the building. You see this. It looks like he's having fun playing football. And is it all perfect? No, it's not all perfect, but he's getting better, and he's working at it. And, I've been really impressed with him, and I think he's played good football for us. And so I'm very proud of Trevor, and he knows that. I tried my best all last year too. I was like, man, you said, don't get down on yourself. Don't get frustrated, man. You barely played. Just keep working. It's going to work out. And he has the talent, he has the ability, and he has the work ethic. And surely we've seen him, continually play better. And I think that's exciting for our whole building and for our fans, for sure. Good. Thank you all.
All right. Shout out to Carr. All right. All right. Carr finally got off the mic. Appreciate him for dropping some game, man. And that was a lot, man. Ask Carr a question, get an answer. That's how it goes. Big ups to you guys. Appreciate y'all being in the stream, man. We heard from Coach Rizzi. We heard from the man, the quarterback. We heard from him as well, man. Let me kind of pull up some stuff here, man, for the injury report. As Carr was talking, the Saints did release the injury report. And if there are any more interviews, we will bounce back to them. All right, here's the injury report, fam. First one of the week. 9 Saints players listed on the injury report. Lucas Patrick's ankle. He was DNP today. Pete Werner dealing with a hand issue. You heard Coach Rizzi said similar to the Willie Gay hand issue. He was DNP. Jamal Williams' groin issue was DNP'd. You take a look at JT Gray. He had a hip issue. He was limited. Jordan Howden, shoulder, limited. Eric McCoy with the groin coming back, doing his thing. Kool-Aid McKinstry, his hamstring was also listed as limited. Cedric Wilson Jr., shoulder, limited. And Nephi Sewell, who was, had the surgery at the end of last year, he is back to business. So it's always good to see Nephi. I like Nephi Sewell a lot. I think he's one of them guys that can kind of help you, in the special teams area of things. So that was good to see there as well. So anyway, man, listen, man, this is a couple of things. Let's go on down here to the rest of it, see what Cleveland got going on. Probably not as much as the Saints. And you see Joel Botneal, the big offensive guard, as a pectoral. He was limited. Jordan Hicks, the linebacker, elbow and triceps fully practiced. Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver, knee issue fully practiced. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the backup quarterback, right finger fully practiced. And Jedrick Wills, who was the tackle, he had a knee issue. He fully practiced. So not as many. Cleveland's not dealing with too much with the Saints, man, to be quite honest with you. In it. So that's the Wednesday, the first of the week injury report right there, as dropped by the team. And of course, to kind of recap what Coach Rizzi was saying during the press conference was that Kool-Aid McKinstry was limited in Wednesday's practice. Eric McCoy wasn't completely full to go yet, but it's hoping that he'll be full to go by the end of the week. That's the thing, to get him ready for the game against the Browns. And of course, there's the bye week after the Browns game. So we get Eric McCoy there, and then he'll get an extra week to kind of get back to that business before we see the Rams on the other side of the bye 2 weeks from now. All right. So anyway, and he also said that it remains on the table for Pete Werner's hand injury, including a return to practice on Thursday. And of course, we talked about Kool-Aid McKinstry and Cedric Wilson participating in Wednesday's drills as well. Jamal Williams worked on the exercise bike, and Chris Olave Lucas Patrick wasn't seen at practice, obviously, right? And that's just some of the breakdown there on our injury report. Like I said, I think that's we still have stuff going on. That's the end of the presser, by the way, family. That was the end of the press conference after Derek Carr left. He took all of the words with him and left the building. All right. Michael says, what should be the biggest need in the draft? Oh, I think the biggest need in the draft for the Saints, depending on what, man, it depends, bro. Because some people say, we need a quarterback. Well, if you got the current administration here and the quarterback is Derek Carr, then if you draft the quarterback, more than likely the quarterback probably is going to sit behind him. So the Saints have been the Saints have been taking quarterbacks the last couple of years, right? We took Pete the Rat Carmichael's guy, Jake Haener, and then this year we took Clint Kubiak's guy, Spencer Rattler. But if there's a change in the head coach, you probably get another offensive coordinator. He'll pick his own guy, right? I'm gonna go with the more conservative approach. I'm gonna say an offensive lineman. I mean, we really need an offensive lineman, man, because Lucas Patrick shouldn't be starting for us, man. He should be a swing player like a Hurst was. He's not a full-time starter. We need help there. We do have young tackles that I'm really high out on, with Tyler Fuaga and Trevor Penning really playing well. Well, he's playing well, running. He got a few things got to clean up, but after a full season and him doing what he do, he's going to be ready, man. This is a rough season for him, but boy, he's going to be tough going forward. Just unfortunate the Saints spent 3 years in before they started giving him this workload. And he got another year before he gets that fifth year option, so we got to get these guys in there fast, man, faster. You got to get those guys in there so they can learn the game faster. So Penning's on the right track. Then you go into the inside there. We still got Cesar Ruiz, who, to me, Cesar Ruiz ain't all that. He had one good year, I want to say, on tape. Cesar do some good things. He's running up the field. You see at times, there are times when Cesar is late blocking. And I got a lot more expectation for him because he's been here longer than a lot of these guys, and he just doesn't look as solid as he's supposed to look. I like Eric McCoy. Coach Rizzi talked about the importance of having, Eric McCoy and what he means to the team and all this kind of stuff, which is true. McCoy means a lot, but at the same time, knowing that, I would probably want to get a veteran center behind McCoy so that if he's the one guy that goes down that affects you that bad, then boy, you know what, maybe I'm mistaken, right? Maybe I'm mistaken about the Saints. I know a lot of other teams understand that, to lose, like if you lose a quarterback or a top wide receiver or something like that, that's why a lot of the offense is supposed to flow. You get other guys involved in the system. Now you got options ones, you got option two, option three, that kind of stuff where you flow your offense through. But what if those guys aren't there? How are you going to move the ball then? Go to the second option. What if the second options are there? Like if you look at the Saints offense, you look at Elvin Kamara as the first option, Chris Olave is the second option. Third guy would more than likely be a Rashid Shaheed, and then it goes down and down and down. But you got to be able to, when guys get hurt, they're not going to be a Chris Olave, but still in all, you got to be able to get guys in there and take advantage of what they do the most. I'm not asking Mason Tipton to be Rashid Shaheed. I'm asking Mason Tipton to be the deep ball wide receiver that stretch out the defense. That's what I'm asking Mason Tipton to do. I can't ask him to do nothing more than that. And that's what we are supposed to do. But if you're running a football team and you got players that get on the field, every last one of those players have the potentiality to be hurt. And if that is indeed the case, then I must then have to prepare in such a manner that if McCoy is that goddamn important to my offense, that whoever the damn backup safety is, he has to be ready if something happens to McCoy. The problem with the Saints, and see, they do this shit. They think, they talk about injuries and players missing, but hold on, bro. A coach, a real good coach, or anybody knows that's what depth charts are there for. You're supposed to be able to put a guy there to absorb as much as you can. The Saints did not have a backup center. They didn't have a veteran backup center because usually if you have that guy there, then that guy would be practicing with the second team, learning the same shit that McCoy learning. Now it'll be a drop off in talent because the backup center won't be as good as McCoy is. We understand that, but to know what he's supposed to do, that's what that guy getting paid to do. So if McCoy gets hurt, you put that other center in there and he knows exactly the duties that McCoy. Now you could teach duties, and that's what the backup center is supposed to do. The Saints didn't have a backup center. They had to take the left guard, make him the center, and jostle up the whole offensive line. The idea is that you don't have to try to move this guy over here and do all this kind of stuff and play musical chairs with your offensive line. Just take the backup center you got and put him in there and see what you can do. Because he's been practicing. They've been practicing with the second team, the same plays that the offense is running every week. So just in the case that injuries happen to any of these linemen, these other guys can step in and kind of keep things going as much as they can. Saints were ill prepared. Their backup offensive line for most of the season, starting the season in free agency, in a training camp or preseason, those guys were not that good. And we said it the whole time, like, man, are they going to go and get some veteran players to help out with the backups? Because I was looking at players. It didn't have to be Trey Turner, but at least see if you can find some veterans that was released prior to the regular season. Could we find some of those guys and add them in there? But we stuck with these unproven guys, and it showed to be very difficult. Ali Udo, who just stinks. And then we had to get McGovern from the Jets. That was several weeks after the fact. We had to get him, put him in there, and McGovern did a pretty solid job. But they got McGovern after Shane Lemieux got hurt again. And Lemieux can't be counted on, hence the nickname, a.k.a. Lemieux Le Pew. Like Pepe Le Pew, he cannot be counted on. He got a upsetting injury history. We put him in there. He gets hurt. He disappears. You get McGovern from the practice squad. McGovern should have been here over Le Pew. Put Le Pew on the practice squad where he belongs. Let McGovern, who has all this veteran experience, let him be there. But anyway, man, I say all that is every damn position that you have on the depth chart is supposed to have a guy back there to kind of do something. And we just simply didn't have it. So I say all that to say that I think offensive line is a position of need, especially the guard position, because they're not going to be able to sign a veteran guard in free agency. You got Nick Seldeveri there, and based on what I've seen by Nick Seldeveri, I am very cautious about Nick Seldeveri. All he can do is hold a backup guard position for me right now. I'm very shaky on Nick Seldeveri. He's another dude that can't stay healthy. So if I'm the Saints, I'm looking at improving my lines, man. I'm looking at improving these lines. We need to improve this offensive line. We need to improve this defensive line. We really do. If you don't have no line, you don't have nothing, man. And the Saints struggle to set up running plays. Elvin got to work way too hard to run the ball. I've seen people run the ball and they have nice crisp lanes for him to run in between. These lanes, these holes open up and close as fast as they open. But I would say line, man. We need another guard there. We got Penning doing his thing. Tolly's there, but that left guard position, man, we need another guard there. McCoy's here under contract. Cesar Ruiz got an extension, a couple of years ago. So I would say we need another guard because they ain't gonna be able to afford the guy in free agency. And I would rather not go with a Nick Saldiveri on undrafted or either an undrafted guard. I would rather go with a draft pick that will go along with the young offensive lineman that we have. It'll be a cheaper option. So I would pick an offensive guard, to be honest with you. And it also depends on where we're picking at too. If we're picking a top 3 team, of course, I probably would change that a degree and look at a guard maybe at the second round. If we're picking high, then I would look at, if we're picking top 3, that changes everything. But if we're picking, outside the 10, I'd be looking at an offensive lineman. If we're picking like top 5, that changes big time, man. I'll be looking for a skill guy. I'll be looking for because Travis Hunter is there. Isn't Hunter coming out? And you got Shadur Sanders. I don't know about Shadur Sanders. Deion did say that he would be looking out and trying to protect Shadur and Hunter based on where they go. He did put that out there. So if you don't like the team that's drafting them, they're not going to you. So that those guys come with some kind of asterisk. So remember that. Deion said that. He don't want them going to just anybody. So I'm just throwing that out there, man. I know what Deion Sanders wants Shadur Sanders to go. I know where he wants him to go. So he'll be involved in that process some kind of way. So y'all just watch out for that shit. All right. So anyway, big ups to you guys, man. All right. Thank you, Michael. Also, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you. You're fuck too kind.
Thank you, bro. All right. Big ups to the rest of y'all for being in the building, man. Let me go over this one, man. Yeah. Yeah, we got problems, man. That's why I was saying, but it'll change if we are a top 5 team. But like I said, this is very early right now. We still got 7-8 games left to go in the regular season. And Saints 3-7. It's a winnable game against the Browns, but once again, you gotta come prepared. But we just wasn't prepared, like depth chart wise, and it's just a lot of things, and you see it all change with Rizzi. Rizzi's moving around. He's got the pulse of the team. He know what the team needs. Keep talking. A lot of these ideas are not just Rizzi. Rizzi's getting ideas. He's getting communicated to from his offensive line coach, his wide receiver coach, his QB coach, his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator, his linebackers coach, his secondary coach, his DB. All these guys are communicating to him about what they need. They're telling them, and this is what some of the changes that they were making, that they made and how why didn't the previous guy make it? Because he was too stupid and negligent in his duties, believing he knew what it took to get there. Plus, he felt like he was untouchable. Well, we see what happened to people who think they're untouchable, huh? Man, this is a league driven by the people, and if the people want you gone, they hold their money, boy, they will put your ass in the street or demote you. Loomis is learning that right now. That the people, she listened to the people over him. That's why his ass is chapped and he upset right now, is because Gail listened to you over him. He wanted to keep that guy. So like I say, man, that's big, man. That's big. That's a breakage in trust, and that's big. That means you got more power than he to run who he think is his team. Think about that for a second. And that's the message we wanted to send there, because if you don't do what we want you to do, we'll shut you down, man. Few people that'll still go there, but the great bulk of the people, they'll see that money fall fast, and they're not about having that. None of them guys cost that much money for me to lose the kind of money that the family member's giving, and you're failing and losing. There's no excuse. Anyway, shout out to you guys. All right, Ben on B says the cornerback from Michigan is tough, fundamentally sound, no noise comes with him. All right, thank you, brother. One Smoke says Tipton nothing more than a practice squad player. Can't believe he got denied over A.T. Perry. I did not like that call, by the way. The thing is, too, Like you got Mason Tipton was performing in preseason, right? He kind of kind of won over Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak liked Mason Tipton a lot. He comes from Yale, very productive player last year, has a higher upside. Mason runs decent routes. He's a deep threat. And if the Saints are not using him completely he got 4.3 something speed. He's very quick. Not as fast as Rashid Shaheed, obviously, but he has a degree of speed. The A.T. Perry move was concerning because the Saints need wide receiver help right now. And they put A.T. Perry in the street because they said that A.T. Perry was hurt. A.T. Perry said he wasn't hurt. It came out later that Dennis Allen, when they said they released him, that when he clears waivers, that he was going to put him on we thought was they, that Mike Triplett was asking him the question, says, okay, when he clears, are you going to put him on the injury report, on the injury list? He said, no. He says, the practice squad? He says, yes. So, and my question at the time was, who puts injured players on the practice squad? The guy was incredibly stupid and incredibly a line off cold piece of garbage. And then could not keep the lie going. And then when it turns out that A.T. Perry went right to Sean Payton, they brought A.T. Perry. That's where he at right now with Sean Payton in Denver. So it was just like, what was that? Oh, he made it all to do about him being hurt all the time, him not being available. A.T. Perry says, man, I was healthy and available for games, and the Saints made him a game day scratch every time. They could not. That's Clint Kubiak could not get a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver with a good 40 times involved in his offense because he's too busy trying to just lean on them other guys. Could not figure a way collectively to get other guys involved in offenses, which how offense is supposed to flow, which is a big problem with Clint Kubiak that we noticed about Clint Kubiak's play calling. He doesn't have the ability to get other guys involved in a way that is productive. That's really what hurt the Saints offense. He would over-rely on people, over-rely on them. Even if they're hurt, he will over-rely on guys as opposed to get other guys involved. And guess what? He picked the other guys to be on his offense. I didn't pick him. He did. So it's very interesting, but that's a major problem with Clint Kubiak's game that he has to overcome at some point, right? Princess says Shador Travis will not be a Saint, not ever, not as long as Deion alive. That dude see turmoil in the yes, he said that. He said he said they were not going to be Saints, but he did say if the right opportunities wasn't there, that he wasn't going for it. He did say that. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's letting certain people know off top what's going on, Very interesting how this stuff goes. T Ford says A.T. Perry played in a few games for us, made big plays for us last year. Yeah, he was still A.T. Perry was a good player he's a good young player. He needed more time to kind of develop his game, and they put him in the street far too soon. That was a bad look by an off code Dennis Allen. All right, fam. Listen, we're going to do the preview Friday, but let's take a look at some of the rankings right now for the Saints and Browns matchup coming up on Sunday. NFL regular season rankings right here, as you can see right off the bat, look like this. We're Saints 3-7, the Browns 2-7. So the Saints are a little bit better than the Browns. How about that record-wise, right? NFL ranks in terms of scoring average for the Saints, averaging almost 23 points a game. That's middle of the pack in the NFL. The Browns, just over 16 points a game. That's good for 29th in the NFL, so they're not good there, scoring a bunch of points. Defense is giving up almost 24 points, which would pretty much explain why the Browns are a 2-7 club. The Saints score 23 and give up 24.6. That's 24th in the NFL. Total offense in terms of yardage per game, the Saints average just under 35, 335 yards per contest. That's also middle of the pack. The Browns 274.4, which is almost dead last, 31st. The rushing offense for the Saints over 122.4 yards a game. That's 13th in the NFL. The Browns average 91 yards flat, which is 28th. The passing attack through the air, Saints 212.4, the middle of the pack. versus the Browns 183.4, which is 28. So the rankings is basically showing you an ineffective Cleveland Brown offense. But how much of that is under Jameis? We know Jameis has been the quarterback for like what, two or three games by now. So a lot of the statistics that we're seeing is kind of marred by what we seen with Deshaun Watson. So be careful when you look at the Cleveland Browns stats because Jameis is there. And if you know any offense that Jameis Winston is running, it will be an offense that does throw the ball downfield, stretch out, because that's what Jameis does. He's a gunslinger. He's going to get that ball out there. Total defense in NFL ranks. Saints defense giving up 385.6, which is 28th in the NFL. The Browns 328.2, which is 16th in the NFL. So you can see where the Browns' strength relies statistically is on the defensive side of the football. Top 16 in total defensive ranked. Saints are 28th. The rushing defense, Saints rushing defense gives up 141 yards a game. That's good for 27th in the NFL. The Browns only allow you to run 122.6, which is 14th. The Saints give up secondary-wise 244.6 yards per game, which is 29th in the NFL. The Browns just 205.3, which is 13th. So you can see the Saints defense is not very good, man. An old defense that's committing a lot of stuff. They just gave up 181 yards to the Atlanta Falcons last Sunday rather, in the Dome. And Nick Chubb is coming to town. So a lot of this stuff, man, showing that the Saints can be ran on. The secondary dealing with some injuries. Guys are kind of nicked up. So what will happen there? I promise you Jameis is going to test that. And then we go to the special teams punt return average. Saints average 12.4, which is 7th in the NFL. 10.5 by the Browns, which is 17th. The kickoff return average. Saints average just over 26 yards per game, which is 20th. The Browns almost 23, which is 30th. You see the turnover margin. Saints are +4, tied for 9th in the NFL. The Browns are -7, which is 28th, tied for 28th, which is not very good. The Saints possession average per game, it's a 60-minute game, right? And the Saints hold the ball for just over 29 minutes. The Browns 31-20, not much difference there. Saints 25 touchdowns versus 15. The penalties, Saints have had 66 penalties versus 71 penalties. And penalty yardage at 646 penalty yards for the season. Good grief. Good grief. We got to definitely clean that up at some point, right? Got to definitely clean that up. All right. So anyway, fam, that's very interesting there, man. But listen, we got some stuff to do in terms of when we face off against the Browns. We'll have the preview stream on Friday for that situation. And it is what it is. All right, we got a poll question. 170 plus people voted on the poll. Who wins the matchup Sunday? And they say 76% of the Whodats says the Saints will win versus 24% by the Browns. So shout out to you guys for voting in the poll. Much love to you guys on that as well. Let me get a few more questions and comments before I dirk on out. Let's see. Ben on B says Saints don't need another pass rusher. They need a dog in the middle, like 99 on the Titans. A strong interior makes a strong pass rush. Yeah, well, the Saints did invest in an interior defensive tackle. His name is Brian Bresee. At what point does Brian Bresee start for you guys? At what point? I'm asking you guys that. At what point do you believe that he's supposed to start? When is he supposed to start? He's a first-round draft pick. Isn't that what you drafted him for, to come here and start? Isn't he supposed to be starting in his second year? I mean, you stink up the middle. You just gave up 181 yards of rushing against the Falcons. You know, what are we doing? Is Brian Bresee a first-round draft pick at some point? Isn't he supposed to start? I mean, that's what they spent. The Saints spent the 29th pick in 2023 on Brian Bresee. You know, at some point, he's supposed to be a starter for you and not a rotational defensive tackle. Just saying. You know, just saying. And you look at the numbers. Let me see if I can kind of put this on screen for some of the family members so they can see. If you look at the numbers, this is Nate Shepard at 10 tackles, a half a sack right there. And then if you go Brian Bressee's way, he got 10 tackles and 4 sacks and a forced fumble. His stats are better. At what point do you say, okay, we're going to move Brian Bresee in there next to Colin Saunders? Because I know you're not going to bench Colin Saunders. You got to eventually pay him. Problem is, Brian Bresee's not always as good against the run as you want him to do. He's not a consistent run stuff and defensive tackle like you want him to be. And that in itself is an issue where you have to kind of figure out what to do with that. But that has to be worked upon and cleaned up. That maybe that's what Brian Young comes in there and do to help Brian Bresee takes his game to another level. But if you have a first round draft pick that you spent on, right, isn't that the move? I mean, am I right or wrong on here? What's up, Colorado? Shout out to you, fam. Pretty good, man. Hope your day is just as good as mine on this hump day edition. Going early with it. Shout out to you, my brother. Appreciate you. All right. Yes, indeed. So yeah, we have to do that. And that's what I'm saying about at what point do Brian Bresee gets a chance in there? Well, I mean, because you stink stopping the run. I mean, just saying. So yeah, the line play, a lot of the line play that's happening with the Saints right now is not very good. You know, we don't consistently get to the quarterback. Toward the back end of the Falcons game, we were able to get a couple of sacks and stuff like that with Chase Young getting in there and Peyton Turner got in there. But, you know, that was in portions of the game. A large majority of the game, the Saints was not making it happen. They wasn't getting to the quarterback. Kirk Cousins had a clean pocket. And the same thing went on with previous during the 7-game slide. We can't get to the quarterback consistently. You get to him every here now and then, but about time the Saints start getting to him, the guy's already built a rhythm. You know, and then when you start facing mobile quarterbacks, that's a whole nother thing. Yes. All right. Jack says same thing to do is to start Bresee in year 4 when you decide to give him. Okay, I got you. I see what you did there. Jack says, Q, how do the Saints have a prototype D lineman with metric and they have Sanders starting? Yes. What prototype is he? Bowling ball? Yeah, it's the idea was to bring, you know, to develop Brian Bresee into a starting interior defensive tackle because he's extremely disruptive. So at some point you would want to say, okay, we're going to build him up, help him get his defending the run more consistently, then we'll roll him out there. But that has yet to happen. We're half of the second year of his career, and he's still a rotational defensive tackle. I mean, something going on here. I mean, he would definitely bring more speed to the line, you know, but it just at some point you're looking at the Saints defensive line like, man, try something, do something different, you know, shake it up. Brother Damon, what's happening, bro? Say, hey, Q still can't stop the run, and Nick Chubb is coming, and you got a dog and Myles Garrett coming, and I believe Jameis has a wonderful game with Njoku. I believe the Saints lose this game. It's not out of the realm of possibility because you do present, and I've said this early in the stream, this team presents you with several different issues. You mentioned a lot of them in this comment. The Saints have issues with the mobile QB threat in which Njoku is. The Saints have issues stopping the running of the ball, especially with a powerful north-south running back thumper like Chubb. The Saints secondary is dinged up, and you know the secondary period and the defense overall is a bottom 5 defense, and they play like it. They played better and more inspired last game, but still in all, it's a lot of breakdowns with the Saints. A lot of guys inexperienced there. So I mean, yeah, if Jameis attacks the secondary and gets the play action going, it could be tough for the Saints. And another thing is, can Derek Carr be able to kind of get the play action game? Can the Saints run the ball and get Clint Kubiak get the play action game going so Derek Carr can get in his play action mode so he could tack downfield? Because the Browns, like I showed you, the Browns, statistically speaking, the strength of their team is their defense. Myles Garrett is another whole nother thing to even talk about defensively. Myles Garrett is licking his chops because he'll be going against 2 inexperienced. One, if they tend to move him around and have him here or there to create mismatches, you'll have an inexperienced tackle to deal with. And Derek Carr has to speed that ball up. You can't stand back there staring down the field like he likes to do, standing there looking one side of the field. He's going to have to get into to his progression plate, he's going to have to look around. If he don't see nothing he like, get the hell out of Dodge, go scramble, pick up them 5 yards. You know, he don't have time to sit there and stare people down. He's going to have to move around a little bit, you know, because, you know, he does that. He'll get in there at least 6 times a game. He's staring people down. He'll look and get caught on and get frozen on one side of the field. You can't do that. You know, that could be problematic. So the Saints will have to run the ball and take it out of his hands, get into the play action, and go from there. So we'll see if they can get that going, because that'll be the strength of the game right now. Because I know Jameis coming in here, he will attack the Saints defense. And by the way, like I said earlier, Jameis Winston been here for several years. He knows the Saints defense. He knows what they like to do. And that's also something to talk about here. So all those things make it very interesting. You got a quarterback familiar with your defense. You have one of the best pass rushers in the game going against your inexperienced lineman. You have one of the most difficult runners in the game in Chubb against you, and you just gave up a $181 to the Chargers. To the Falcons last week. You know, ineffective to stop the run. They have a decent offensive line, which means Jameis will have time to kind of look around and do his thing. They do have speedsters. They're not big name players, but they can get downfield to hurt you against your banged up secondary. So, yes, though all those serves as recipes for what could be a difficult day for the Saints, but you know, we'll see. We shall see. All right, Brandon says, hey Q, on the offensive side of the ball, we definitely need more wide receivers. Yeah, I've said that, bro. I don't know why the Saints didn't bring anybody in here. Perhaps they're waiting for after the bye week. They're looking at Cedric Wilson Jr. He's coming back to practice, but Cedric Wilson Jr. hadn't really done anything for the Saints. He's not a speedster. He's more of the possession mode guy. You need guys that can break it open and get downfield, and I don't know if the Saints even have speedsters on their practice squad. Equimia St. Brown is a possession kind of guy. Kevin Austin Jr., I don't know what his 40 time is, but he's not known to be a burner. That Pettis guy, I don't think he's a speedster. So yeah, you look at the Saints wide receivers they have. Jermaine Jackson is a speedster, but they won't use him in the receiving game because he's the kick return. He's the designated kick return or punt return. So they're not going to mix roles with him, even though he's very fast. So, you know, what do you do if you're the Saints? If you lacking wide receivers? Well, if you're imaginative, what I would do is I would take Taysom Hill and get Taysom Hill involved in the passing game, right? Because Jamal Williams is supposed to be making his way back. Hell, I would activate. They got 2 activated running backs in Jordan Mims. Jordan Mims, they used him last week, and he has some pretty good runs. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He got good speed. And I would kind of see if I can bring in Jacob Kabadi. Bring Kabadi in and let him be the tackle with Jamal Williams. Now, you need a north-south runner that can kind of bust it open for you. Why not bring Kabadi in there, activate him as a third runner, take Taysom Hill and use him as a wide receiver, you know, kind of move Kamara out there as a wide receiver every now and again to kind of create a decoy scenario where you can employ Jordan Mims and bring in Kabadi and let him run on short situations, you know. I mean, that's the purpose of having mismatch nightmares. They're not just stuck exclusively to one area of the field. Elvin Kamara is not stuck exclusively to the side of Derek Carr. He can be a wide receiver. You can play him all over the place. He's a mismatch nightmare. Same with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill don't have to be trapped at running back or fullback or play him at wide receiver. You need explosiveness in the wide receiver room. Move Taysom there. Use him there if you have to, because you need some help there. And then bring in other guys and help them. But the problem with that is Clint Kubiak's not good at doing that. He's not good at using these players outside of their traditional roles. He doesn't, you know, he lacks that imagination and the ability to be able to get other players he picked for his offense involved in the system when other players are hurt or absent. He don't know how to move guys around from my standpoint that I've seen. That's one of the things that really looked suspect during the losing streak was the offense, and they're going to blame it on injuries. But it's up to the coordinator to be able to get guys that he picked for his offense involved. You know, you see what I'm saying? You're going to have to overcome that in some form or fashion. If your offensive linemen are not blocking, get them effing guys out of here and get ones that do. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit up here. If I'm looking at a guy and the guy's struggling week to week, I'm getting that guy out of here. I'm sorry. You got to go, man. You got to go. Because we need guys here that's going to do the job. You got to go. You got to go. Sorry, brother. But y'all not handling the business. I put you on the street or send you to the practice squad because you obviously need some more practice squad. We need to get somebody in here that can block and open up these lanes for my running back. I cannot not run the ball. I'm going to lose. So I would rather lose you who's not blocking than to lose the game. Our job is to win. If we don't win, then we are all lose our jobs because you are not doing what you're supposed to do. That's what it is. That's my observation. My experience from watching what I've been seeing from this offense for this time frame. That's my clear-cut observation about what I've been seeing. And I've been very critical about it. And it's been disappointing to watch that from Clint Kubiak because I like Clint Kubiak's mind, but that's a horrible flaw that he did not overcome. That did not save him. The thing that's saving him is guys coming back. He did not adjust in the way he was supposed to adjust. So if this situation happened where you lose guys again, it's going to go right back to where it was. That's what I'm saying. The season is not over with. Just because you get these guys back don't mean that they can't suffer injuries again. Just because you get what I'm saying here. This is the NFL. Guys come in there. They might play a few games. They might get hurt. Some of them might finish the season. But you have to understand that mindset. That's how I'm saying this guy, this Mickey Loomis guy, this Cretan is crazy because even if you gain some of these guys back, who's to say that they won't be out again at some point? So the answer ain't just for them to come back. You have to fortify. You have to fortify your ranks as best as you can. And these guys, they don't do that well enough, man. And that's why you lose in games. They ain't got nothing wholly just because of injuries. You have an issue with your depth chart. You didn't do what you were supposed to do and preparing yourself this season. This is a preparatory issue. This has nothing to do exclusively to injuries. You did not prepare properly. That's why these games was losing like this. And Dennis Allen was a bad preparer. And instead of making excuses about injuries, let's face the facts. The guy prepared poorly. He didn't even have a goddamn backup center, man. And you hear all this to do about Eric McCoy being so important. And listen, Eric McCoy is very important. But listen, you mean to tell me all the dude have to do is take your center out of here and then you down for the count? Listen to what I just said. All he has to do is knock your center out and shit. Here you go, tumbling your ass off on a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Is that all it takes for one player to go down? I'm saying you have to prepare, and the system is the system. We play through the system. The system is the code. We play through the code. We get guys involved, regardless of who's in there or not. That don't mean that we don't compete to the best of our abilities, that we don't do the best job we can do until these guys get back. But there is no guarantee once they get back that they're going to be healthy for the rest of the year. It's no guarantee on that. And then you'll be right back into the same situation you was prior to them getting hurt. Or right when they came back prior to the situation, them coming back from the injury. Crazy people, man. They just think they could just tell you anything. Well, see, the injuries, Q, that was the issue. See, the injuries. And people, they're not supposed to use injuries as an excuse. Never. They'll tell you that at the start of the year and then look at them in the middle of the year saying injuries to justify failure. That's why people are not accepting it, because you're never supposed to use injury because everybody have them. And number 2, you got a depth chart you're supposed to embrace. Absorb as much as you can. And there's supposed to be a guy there that another guy behind him can't do his job, or at least keep that going until the guy gets back. So, I mean, yeah, man, they go on with that crap. Well, see, that's when Dennis Allen failed. Dennis Allen failed. He failed. You know, he's a great coach. And Bill Belichick, 75, 12. Bill Walsh, 75, 29. Now you can add Dennis Allen to the loser bracket, not Loomis, because he's not a great coach. He wasn't. His defense failed, and they stopped listening to him. There was a mutiny, and Gail listened to the people, and they threw his ass out of here. So he wasn't a great coach. Anyway, man, we in this thing, man. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all being in the live, man. Big ups as well. Yeah, Desi says, I agree on Kubiak. Maybe he wasn't ready to be an OC. Yeah, the flaw. Desi, listen, the flaw, man, it was when that happened, and I seen it fast too. And I said it, like when the stuff started happening, I was like, man, Clint Kubiak have to get these guys involved. He's over relying. I did it after the Philadelphia game when all this started happening. I said, fam, listen, go back and listen to it. I said, fam, listen, man, this guy is going to have to get other people involved because. What's my saying I made? My little nursery rhyme I made about Taysom Hill and Clint Kubiak? when Taysom's away, Clint Kubiak can't call a play. That's what the little nursery rhyme I made up. It started then because I realized, like, even in the Atlanta game, we played them the first time. Taysom had 2 touchdowns in that game. If Taysom was healthy, we beat the Falcons. Even Lowe said that. He said, bro, if Taysom hadn't got hurt, y'all would have won that game. I said, I know we would. He said, what happened? I said, that guy didn't adjust. You've seen Jamal Williams sit up in there game after game, getting 2 and 3 carries at a time, and Jamal Williams is a rhythm runner. What north-south runner, you know, he gets into a rhythm when he runs the ball. You got to give him more than 3 or 4 carries to get him involved. So you had him picking these guys. He picked Jamal Williams, who really is the complement running back for Alvin Kamara, not Taysom Hill. Not Taysom. It was Jamal Williams. But if he would have used them in, like, spread them around, you didn't have to just overload Elvin as a runner. Elvin he could be a wide receiver. He can be anything you want him to be. Same with Taysom. So you didn't have to exclusively pin them to a group there behind the quarterback. You could have made them wide receivers and put Jamal Williams in there to spread open the defense so you can hit him with the north-south runner. So you can draw him with Jamal Williams. You could do all that, but he didn't do none of that. He over-relied on Alvin Kamara. He over-relied on Taysom Hill, despite the men having injuries. I was yelling for him to use Jordan Mims, who was active every game. He refused to use Jordan Mims. He started using him on the last couple of games because he was forced to. They had no other running backs. So that's what I'm saying. He failed early on offensively to adjust and adapt, and he didn't get it, and he kept doing the same thing. And then 2 weeks later, after I said that, it was the Eagles and the Falcons game. The third game, before the third game, when they were on a 2-game winning streak, Dennis Allen came out to a press conference and told everybody 2 weeks later, something I said 2 weeks early, that we need to have more people involved in the offense. He said that. Put 1 in the chat if y'all remember that. And I pinpointed it. But did his damn OC listen? His offensive coordinator didn't listen. And I said, man, I'm very disappointed. And Clint Kubiak went right to his weakness. If he got Alvin Kamara, he gonna overuse him. He got Taysom Hill, he gonna overuse him. If you got guys that at the next level that accentuate what they're doing, like you supposed to take an Alvin Kamara and a Taysom Hill and use them in the offense where they draw attention away from your second and third string guys you got running around in there. Because they'll draw attention, and the mindset of the defense is, I'm not going to let you beat me with Elvin or Taysom. If you beat me with this Jordan Mims dude, or you beat me with this Jamal Williams cat, I'm cool with that, but you will not beat me with Elvin. You won't beat me with Taysom. You won't beat me with Chris Olave. If you beat me with Mason Tipton, we can live with that. But I will not let you beat me with Chris. I will not let you beat me with Rashid Shaheed. I ain't going to let you beat me with Elvin. I damn sure ain't going to let you beat me with Taysom Hill. That's the mindset of the defense. If you beat me with those other guys, you got to win. So the game is to get those other guys involved, because the defense don't know who you going to play through. Even your boy Drew Brees came out recently and was talking about that, how they didn't know who was going to get the ball, and that's a whole nother element. So facts all the way around, man. All right. Yeah, this is good stuff here. Smoke says thing weak Clint is his scheme is based off running ball. If the run not going, he struggled to make adjustments. Indeed, bro. So the idea, right, commonsensically is, right, if they're not running the ball, find out why they're not running the ball. A lot of times you watch the film, Saints offensive linemen losing one-on-one matchups. We do it all the time, film study on Patreon. You watch it during the losing streak, Saints offensive linemen were losing one-on-one matchups. 5 linemen, 1 guy will lose. 5 linemen, 2 guys will lose. It happened every time. It's like few plays they played on code with each other, right? But every time you would see at least 1 lineman lose his one-on-one matchup, or not block somebody he was supposed to block, or supposed to shed off a double block to get to the second level to take on the linebackers to free up space for the runner to get behind him so he can get to the second level of the defense. Constantly on film. They did a shitty job. Constantly on film. It's like he took these guys and dropped them on the field and said, hey, y'all ready to play a football game? It's Sunday morning. Y'all ready? No continuity, no nothing. And these guys been practicing for weeks together. I mean, it was just amazing to me how bad it looked. But if I'm the offensive coordinator and I'm looking at that, I'm saying, listen, bro, this ain't gonna work. We got to get these guys out of here because this guy is losing. Because how you practice is how you play. You can't tell me you had Hall of Fame practices out there and then get out on the field and look like that. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that bullshit. How you practice is how you play. So if I'm watching them guys missing one-on-one matchups, getting beat on in practice, and I see it on the field, and then after the game, I'm studying film and they're getting them beat on film. How does guys keep going back out there how has he still got a job? How is he starting Sunday? Why did I not go get somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Why ain't go try somebody else from the practice squad? Why I ain't go get, you see what I'm saying? Why ain't go bring a veteran in and say, listen, dude, we need you to do this. Can you do that? Can you block? Why ain't do all of that? I'm just going to sit there and let them stink and me can't run and hope that they block. The hell with that, man. I'll put your ass in the street if I see that you getting beat like that because you're not ready to play. And I can't have that. It's too important. We have to run the ball. That's how important it is. Running the ball to Clint Kubiak is like breathing oxygen. And let me tell you something. If your nostrils is blocked, right? Both your nostrils is blocked and all of a sudden they got blocked and you couldn't breathe, you'd be tearing the goddamn walls, scratching the walls off and tearing up everything trying to breathe. Imagine your damn nostrils, bro. What you gonna do? You're gonna be doing everything, breathing through your mouth and everything. You're gonna be trying, what's going on? You're gonna try to get to the bottom of it. It's what the hell you gonna do. You're gonna get your ass to that doctor and find out what the hell going on. Breathing, that's what I'm talking about in terms, that's an extreme example to what I'm saying is oxygen for the running game for Clint Kubiak's offense is like oxygen to you. You must have it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you can't get linemen in there to block, I will continue to put you on the street and it will be a treadmill or a revolving door of linemen till I get to the right people. And if they don't, like, damn, there's a lot of people coming in. Well, we trying to find the right guys. That's what a general manager is supposed to do. Because sometimes you don't hit it. Sometimes you miss when you're swinging. You got to keep swinging. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to keep trying until you get the right people in there. It happens. That's what a football team is. Some guys are not supposed to be there. And when you're old, when you lost 7 straight, a lot of guys should have been put in the street, to be honest with you. Not just Dennis Allen, a lot of people were supposed to be put in the street because a lot of people stealing money. So anyway, I'm going to say that about it. Yeah, but he got the rest of the year to see if he can change it. Right? Even says, I told you in preseason that Vikings fan had said Kubiak's offense bogged down during the course of the game. That's right. Thank you for saying that, brother. Brandon says, tells you how bad the offense has been lately. When Taysom misses games, he says supporters are wishing that he was out there to give a spark to the offense. Taysom is 34, and we can't rely on him forever. Indeed. But see, Taysom's so dynamic, but he's a part of the window, but he's so dynamic in what he does because he does what he do so well. You know, he catches the ball. He's incredibly difficult to bring down. He's fast. He's furious. He plays with that type of energy. But you got older players like that and need to be accentuated by younger players, which is the problem. You can't overuse a Taysom or an Alvin Kamara. You can't do that to them. You got to have play off of them sometimes, you know, and then when it's time for them to make a play. But at the same time, you got to have young players out there like an A.T. Perry or some of these other guys, when he was here anyway, to make plays for you. Because their job, the Stars' job, is to draw attention away from these backup guys and these backup guys out there making catches. I told you over and over again, they're going to pay attention to the Stars before they pay attention to a Mason Tipton or any of these other guys. If they beat you with Mason Tipton, they'll shake your goddamn hand and say, you know what? The guy beat us. It's not a scouting report for these guys, is what I'm saying. Not in the depth when they're more concerned with Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, those guys. And knowing that, you're supposed to be able to have game plans to get other guys involved to take the pressure off the Stars. That's what playing as a team is all about. And we've seen that before in past renditions of offenses. It didn't have to be Drew Brees. We've seen the Saints flow their offenses through guys that wasn't the 1 and 2 options. It's just football. So it is what it is, fam. Yeah, Smoke says his run first. I think Kendrick would help the run game and get it going. We saw that what DA did to him. Yeah, we know off-code behaviors is what it is. But like I said, the guy got to be able to run the ball, man. And that's a big part of the game. Axe says Saints haven't had a real draft since 2017 class. Yeah, and we'll see what they do, man. It's a lot of stuff. So it's all facts we talking, fam. It's all facts. All right. So anyway, with that being said, fam, listen, I hope y'all enjoyed this early broadcast today. I know I did. I had some extra time, fam. And it fit what I got going on because a later broadcast would have mean a shorter show. And the fact that the Pels play tonight for 6:30. And I'm going to be checking that out. Pelican Post-Game Report on for later on for my Pelican people out there. That's on PPR Pelican Post-Game Report channel on YouTube. You can be able to check that out for my Pel faithful. But yeah, in the end, man, I enjoyed the stream. Hope y'all had some fun today. I know I surprised y'all. Yeah. We OG says he happy. Yeah, man, I kind of surprised OG. OG said, Q, you early today. Oh, yeah, man. I'll surprise you every now and again. Yeah. Thank you, brother. Brandon says Loomis doesn't care about winning because he lets the losing streak last too long. If Allen was still there, we might still be on a losing streak. Well, you probably would have been on. You'd have definitely lost to Atlanta. You'd have definitely lost to Atlanta. No doubt about it. You lost to Carolina. It wouldn't have been Atlanta. So yeah, you probably right. It would have been an 8-game losing streak. Then he would have got fired because the pressure would have been too great. They should have fired him early, but that's making Loomis with no vision. See, he trying to the mere fact that he tried to hold on to him is the fact that they understanding, the whole situation with his contract, and that doesn't affect the Saints salary cap. But from a philosophy standpoint, they really didn't want to come up off that money. But like I said, you guys, and I said this before they did it, and a lot of people, some of the reporters were saying, I don't see it happening. And I was telling y'all, listen, the shit ain't going to fly. It's not going to fly. We ain't going for that. This is a new day and time. Well, as proof positive what you seen, wasn't it? They put that fool in the street. And I told y'all they was going to put him in the street. I said they're going to fire this clown. 7, you cannot survive a 7-game losing streak. I said it at the end of the loss to the Carolina Panthers. I said they should put him in the street. There's none of that going on. I went on a PNP camp. Shout out to Dave and Shad. I went on their camp. He says, Q, should his card key work? I said, no, it probably ain't gonna work, but we know Dennis, Mickey Loomis doesn't want to fire him, and the man is on a 7-game losing streak. Gail stepped up and fired the dude. So that changes everything. You're playing under a total or walking and living in the total new paradigm. I told y'all that, where you have direct impact on what your team does. You just influence a firing of a head coach. And you had a stubborn VP general manager dude with a lot of power in the team that didn't have enough power to stop it from happening. He tried. So think about that. You had the ability to fire your head coach because you got on code. Not you people that was running y'all ass down. I ain't talking about y'all, but the people that stood on code and make a sacrifice. They had the ability to fire, the influence to fire a head coach. Think about that. Think about that. The Dallas Cowboy people can't even say that shit. They're not on code. If they would have done what the Saints family members did, they would have McCarthy out of there. They still sitting up with McCarthy over there. You see what I'm saying? Man, listen, man. Talk to me about no power. Shit gonna change and it's gonna keep changing. Because they understand, hey, man, they're not going to give us this money unless we make real changes. They're not going to fall for this other stuff because we done did it all and it ain't working on them no more. The propaganda don't work on you no more. The energy's out there. It's a truth energy. It's pulling all the lies, the veiling, and all of the garbage that comes along with program and trying to brainwash you and lie. That's what this marketing is. It comes from Bernays. Edward Bernays, the dude that created propaganda for Madison, what they call it, for Madison Ave, for all these commercials. That's what they use, his stuff. And it's basically marketing. They call it marketing, but it's basically brainwashing you to buy products. They used to have laws against this, but they peeled all that stuff away under Obama where they could be able to do this weird stuff on TV. So you got all this stuff is full blown to people. So you seeing people going through stuff right now and they don't understand that they're using technology, brainwashing, repetition, subliminal messaging. Y'all need to research all this stuff, man. Research what I'm telling you. I'm not just sitting here making this shit up, but that's what I'm saying. That's not working no more. These little parlor games and all this other stuff, because You got to learn how to reprogram your mind from the trash, the tripe, the garbage from a disempowering standpoint and be empowered, because the system makes you believe that they want to lead you and they have your best interest when they don't. Same old shit all over again. Same old shit. But when the people rise up, they get scared. That's an example, a small example, but nonetheless a big example of taking your power and letting them know, hey, man, I know what my power is. I know without my energy, my money, and us being the guts, the heart and soul of the Saints organization, that none of them guys would be down there collecting no check if you didn't give it to them. It all comes from you. You are the top of it, and I'm telling you to embrace your power and walk with that example and use that throughout your life and watch how things change. Watch how it changes. None of this cheap these politics is going to work anymore. And that's why a lot of people are depressed, because they're realizing a depressed person or oppressed or suppressed would then indicate that it's some type of pressure that you're not in control of that's limiting your options. Because most of the times you'll see that a lot of people are depressed because they feel like their options are limited in many cases, which will create like you in a box type situation where you're trapped. You get what I'm saying? Which is the total opposite. You have all the options at your disposal, but you have to open up your mind to understand that, and that you indeed are the one that's creating the mindset, and the ones that placed it there for you to accept are the ones that's then manipulating that thought process upon you. You have to realize that, withdraw from that, and recognize that you have power, and only use your power to improve you. Is a violation when you try to use it on others. Now, speaking truth to power, people will pick up on that, whether they're ready for it or not. They'll remember it. Maybe they'll put it in that mental archive and they'll come back to it. But at the same time, none of these cheap ass politics is not working anymore, fam. People are waking the hell up, and I'm proud of people, man. I'm proud of the Who Dat Nation for standing on code. The Cowboys and all these other people haven't done that yet. You have. So anyway, with that being said, man, listen, I'm gonna get out on that. I appreciate you guys. Much love to you guys. I'm gonna holler at y'all on the next stream. I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll go over all of that stuff, man. We'll talk about the latest Thursday injury report. We'll talk about the latest. We'll cover the pressers and anything going on our Thursday stream. Friday, we'll do the preview of the Saints and Browns matchup. And man, we got to get this dub, get back to 500, right? The first thing they got to do is win one game at a time to try to get back at 500. That's a long way to go. So we got some time on our hands. But anyway, with that being said, y'all support the sponsors. Check out the sponsors: Mint Mobile, Tiege, Hanley, BetOnline. They sponsor the Sports Coma, the PRO Media Network. Check out their products and services. The links are in the description section below. Check out our merch stuff. It helps the platform. Also, you can feel free to join our Patreon, our YouTube channel, to continue this great message going forward. And we'll holler at you on the next one. Much love. Peace to y'all. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Fucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, and you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that?
is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and Who That Too.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us.